Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And check it. You can check my lawyer registration online if you are weirdly Canadian and think that I'm pretending to be a lawyer. You dumb, stupid pile of garbage. No one likes you. No one likes anything that you say. That said, just check the public registration, you idiot. All right, guys. So today, it's a free speech-a-thon that I have poorly planned in the most perfect of boomer methods. I expect it to go off with every hitch. Not without a hitch, with all of the hitches. I have bought all the Bitcoin, but I bought it all at 20,000 because it was still going to go up, and it didn't crash then. Okay. Today, we are talking about... What is... Never mind that. That's a different thing. We are talking about gab. We are talking about speech. We are talking about principles. We are talking about, I don't know, whatever we want, I guess. We're going to talk about, I'm not already drunk. I haven't started drinking yet. It's about to start. Okay. Guy, I'm so pissed off. I don't know how else to say it. I'm so tired. Like, I feel like I have to apologize to you guys because I keep having to do this. I keep having to have this discussion. I keep having to say over and over that free speech is not the First Amendment and that the First Amendment is not limited or is not limiting to free speech. Hey, what up, Tug? You are... One second, buddy. Okay, there. You're no longer muted. Welcome.
All right.
Hey, whoa. I've got to get you into my headphones. Sounds sexy.
In my head, but yeah, man.
Okay. What am I doing here?
Is that legal? Is that something that YouTube allows?
Yeah, that's not only allowed by YouTube, it is legal advice. Get in my headphones. So welcome. Yes, to the audience. We just got started. So you're right on time.
All right.
Let me explain what I have done to the audience. Not what I've done to the audience, but let me explain to them what has happened. I have invited several people onto the show with no pressure, no commitments. I've just dropped links, sometimes announced, sometimes unannounced in their Twitter DMs. And I've invited them to come on for as long as they choose. And just we're going to just hang out and talk about speech and free speech. And I'm very glad that my first guest to show up today is that umbrella guy, Tug, who was recently free speeched right off of YouTube for 90 days. And yeah.
What a middle finger, man. I mean, yeah. I'm pretty milquetoast about what I cover too. You know, I don't use I mean, every now and then a little explicit language maybe, but nothing.
I mean, you can't find explicit language on YouTube. That shouldn't be there.
But man, it's kind of strange, like the flagging that goes on because people don't want to hear what you say. You know, if they can compel your speech, they've got to disincentivize, man. They disincentivize by taking away platform or taking away any incentive, including being able to speak.
Right. And that is what has got to stop. It's got to stop. Yes, Grand Admiral C is invited, Zephael. I don't know if he'll show up because, he's a real person with work in the morning, unlike me. I mean, I'm a real person.
I've got work in the morning.
Yeah, well, I don't know how early you work. How early do you work?
I go in the morning, man. I go in at like I'll be in there at 8 o'clock. So yeah.
Wow. Well, like I said,
I got home. You know the process though. If you really want to stay up late and you want to do this, just start live streaming at 5. You'll be up. And just keep going.
Yep, that's actually yeah. If you can get I used to do that when I had early mornings. I'm a bad morning person. We haven't really chatted too much, so let me introduce myself. Hi, I'm Nick. I'm a lawyer, and I have narcolepsy. So I get this weird narcolepsy. Of course, as popularly communicated, is that you just fall asleep randomly, but that's one type of it. But how it works, kind of for me, and yes, I have been diagnosed. I know it's a pretty rare diagnosis before any medical bros in the chat decide to jump on that. I've been officially diagnosed, had a full sleep study and everything. But how it affects me is at night when I should be tired, my brain wakes up quite a bit. And during the day when I should be awake, even like right after waking up, I am exhausted. It's like I've been awake for days. So that's why I do my nighttime stuff. But yeah, I used to, whenever I had early mornings, I used to actually kind of take a nap midday and then stay up straight through the night and then sleep after. But yeah.
The only time I've ever been introduced to like narcolepsy, like you say, is on shows. Sopranos. I was watching that, and people fall asleep randomly, like you say.
Yeah, Deuce Bigelow had the chick who could like drown in her soup, and Rat Race had Mr. Bean who would fall asleep standing up. I have actually almost fallen asleep standing up once, but that was after being up all night, so I attribute it to just natural fatigue the one time. But the other time I had actually taken Adderall. We were trying to modify my medication, and I have a bad reaction to Adderall, I guess, because it literally knocked me out for hours. But we have another guest who's just joined the chat, and let me introduce you to him, that umbrella guy. This is Dick Masterson. Have you heard of Dick Masterson?
I have indeed, yeah.
Hey, what's up, buddies?
Hey.
Nick, did I hear you say you bought Bitcoin at 20,000?
No, I was kidding.
Oh, God. Because I would be afraid if I was that guy and I told you to buy Bitcoin at 20,000.
No.
If anybody knows how to hide a body for a bad Bitcoin investment advice, it's you.
Yes, I do. And you can tell me where the bodies are hidden, and I can't tell anyone else. That's the real advantage. But welcome to the show, buddy. I was just introducing myself to that umbrella guy. He's a comic creator. You have a comic creator, or just a commentator?
No. Yeah, just a commentator. Yeah.
Welcome. Welcome both of you. So, I guess let's move on to some of the subject. We're talking about Gab getting thrown off the internet. Both of you guys have been thrown off of things. So what's I don't know, give me a hot take. What do you think about Gab being thrown off the internet?
I think we're looking at the new way that people are going to get deplatformed. If you can't go straight at them, you start going at play like look at how Gab was deplatformed. They went after Stripe. They went after their pay method. They went after GoDaddy and so on. I mean, it took 2 days, and when you were looking at it too, it was for the same reasons that Twitter. I mean, we've seen we're hearing about how the shooter has an account on one place, and at the same time we have the guy who shot the 2 black gentlemen in Kentucky as a platform on Twitter, and then we have Facebook. They like to live stream murdering on, but hey, let's just forget about that kind of stuff.
Well, Twitter doesn't like black people, so they don't care that the 2 guys got shot. I think that's how that works.
I heard that. I heard about that. Yeah, hey, no one was up in arms when I got banned starting in 2005 and continuing on to today. So fuck them. It's the worst. It's the worst, most sickening feeling ever to wake up every day and check I go through every day and check Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. And every day I think one of them is going to go down. I'm like, all right, is today the day? If it takes a little bit too long to load, I'm like, ugh. If it has a 404 for some reason, I think, well, that was it. Fun while it lasted. Now I got to go to jail for killing someone for taking away 25 grand a month from me.
Exactly. And the dumb thing is, like, your content is great, but it's not that edgy. I mean,
no,
it's really not.
That's what bugged me about Alex Jones and Milo getting taken off, and Gab in a way too. Like, they're taking off the guys that are fun, and they're promoting guys like Richard Spencer who couldn't organize a tailgate party. Like I don't want to get really conspiracy theory, but I know who I like, and I don't like guys that take themselves too seriously. Those are the guys who can change minds, and it seems like they're taking off just them. Like, it's this weird feeling I have about it.
Yeah, because
maybe that's the whole point, though. They are taking off people that can actually change minds. Maybe they're leaving people there that really they know can't. They seem like a circus or a sideshow. They leave the sideshow, but they actually take away the true entertainment.
Absolutely. That's the danger of Alex Jones, is that no matter what you believe about what he says, he's undeniably a fireball of charisma. And he's fantastically entertaining to watch. That you can't argue with it, because he like treads the line of being persistent or perpetually unhinged. And then Milo, of course, just being a consummate provocateur, where he'll say things that are just close to dangerous, but really not that terrifying at all.
Yeah.
And then you do have, guys like Richard Spencer who will advocate for an ethno state pretty openly.
Yeah.
That guy's still got platforms, but
Alex Jones would never get punched. That's the difference between those guys. Alex Jones would throw up that Batman hand and catch it in the air and then knock a guy out who was sneaking up on him from behind.
Yeah, the natural male vitality, it enhances both your reflexes and your physical strength. That man would be destroyed in moments.
And you're tan.
Dangerous to shirts, though. Shirts cower in fear of natural male the super male vitality.
Yeah. Are you as pissed off every time when Gab gets banned? Because I know you're a big First Amendment guy, and it stings me every time, but I run out of steam to talk about it, and it's just every time it feels just as bad every time, because the closer they get pushed underground, or towards the cliff, the more dirt that gets thrown on top of Gab, the more everybody gets lost in the sauce of private companies and the freedom of speech arguments that are borderline retarded about how, you know what I mean?
Oh, dude, I'm pissed off whenever anyone gets thrown off of anything. I never want it. I mean, you could have the most communist, me, I'm like super pro-life and all that stuff. You could have the most communist, blue-haired, men should all die and all babies must be aborted, mandated person screaming on whatever platform you want, and I'll just change a channel. I'll just change the channel. I don't care. I don't want to stop that person. I actually want these people to say whatever awful thing is on their mind. I want the guy who's going to go shoot up a synagogue to broadcast it to the world. I would much rather the synagogue have a chance to see that there's a guy who's going to come shoot their place than to shut him down. This is insanity. Why do we want to silence people when they could just blast their bad ideas to us and we could say, you know what? That's cool, buddy. Peace.
Yeah, I thought that too when they shut down Gab because he said, what did he say? Screw the narrative. I'm going in. You guys wait, let me get this straight. You guys want to not have a guy say that he's going to go commit a bunch of atrocities? That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, That's the thing, though. They don't want you to actually learn how to, I don't know, spot and prevent. Let's just pretend that this doesn't happen. Let's crawl back in our hidey hole, and then when the next one happens, then, well, I don't know. Let's blame something else other than the person and on.
Yeah, and guys, with the super chats, I'm trying to follow along. I will read them in spurts, but we're gonna do a bunch of conversation between while I have guests. Just so you know. So if there's a super chat with something that is specifically for a guest, I will ask that. Other than that, I will kind of ignore them, and we'll get back to them a little bit later. But to answer your question, or I guess to kind of go with what you're saying, Dick, I get so tired of this argument about the free business. So let's talk about these free private companies for a minute. Because I hate this stupid, you said borderline retarded, and it absolutely
you can quote
is.
me on that if that helps you say bad words.
Yes.
You can quote me all day.
I'm gonna step it up. It's full on retarded. It's not borderline, and I'm tired of it. I have been what many would call a libertarian for, 15 years probably. Although I don't identify with the Libertarian Party. I guess I'm trans libertarian or whatever. I don't roll that way because
Is it because of the smell of the Libertarian Party? Is that why?
It's because of the fat strippers, the fat male strippers that I don't like, and the Gary Johnsons of the world who want to force a Jewish bakery to make a swastika cake. Like I don't want that. I don't want to force businesses to do anything. However, let's talk about what we are, what business activities we're protecting for these private businesses. Private businesses. Hey, Dick, do you know anything about laying fiber?
I know a lot about laying pipe. I know less. I know less about laying fiber, but no, I don't want to cut off your. You're obviously know more about the local laws that make it prohibitively expensive for new competitors to get in. But that's what I know. That's what I think I know about it. That local governments have made it impossible financially and legally for new companies to get in and compete with Comcast.
Right. And it's not just local governments. I mean, it is. Ultimately, it boils down to them because they're the only people who can do anything about it. But just in general, as a property owner, if someone comes up to you and says, hey, I want to lay this line across your property, can I get an easement for it? A lot of people are going to say no, or they're going to hold out for some sort of money for it or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it becomes very cumbersome to lay these lines. So you typically have to do them when the city takes an easement for a road. You have to then you have to pay and grease the local politicians so that you can get your line run along under that road. That's the only way you're going to get a line that runs to all of the customers.
So you have to be you have to really know how the city's being planned, when it will be rolled out. Right. You have to know the people doing the overseeing where the roads are going and when they're getting laid, stuff like that. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Great. Yeah. So you're telling me basically, since I live in some rural area, that I'm stuck in the dark ages forever? Thanks. I love that message.
Yeah, it's actually like that because if I'm in a rural area too, my brother-in-law, actually the county road that runs in front of his property, he lives on like a 10-acre farm, and the county road that runs in front of his property was redone just like 2 years ago. And before that, they had a maximum 5 megabyte download speed internet, right? Because they had old wires. And he goes to the company, the internet company, and he's like, hey, are you guys going to run a new line when they redo the road? Because they're ripping it up and relaying it. And they're like, well, we were thinking about waiting till the next time around. So they were
20. We won't need wires then, you stupid motherfuckers.
So it's only 20 years on average for like a county road to be redone, So
yeah.
So he went and he lobbied them and he got a bunch of his neighbors, which of course they're kind of a long way away from him. But they did all come together and they're like, no, please, like seriously upgrade our internet because can you imagine having 5 meg service today, much less in a year, 2 years, 3 years? But if you don't do it when the roads are laid, then you have to get the city to do an eminent domain taking of an easement to everybody's property, which
that's interesting.
Yeah, and it costs the city a fortune, so it costs cable company a fortune. So then they lay an assessment on all the property owners and force them to pay, and nobody's happy. But it's nonsense. So this idea that you can just go and build your own thing. Well, first you gotta if you want. Apparently, if you want to build your own service, like you get thrown off of Twitter and you're like, okay, well, I guess I can't say gas the Jews on Twitter. So I need to go make Gab. So I go make Gab where I let people say gas whoever they want. But then that's not good enough. They have to get thrown off of Stripe, their payment processor. And then they have to
they get blamed for the people that get kicked off everything too.
Right.
It's like it's like the 1%, the blues up on Twitter having a big party and rolling the garbage down the hill to Gabland, and then they come in and say, "Oh, well, you're letting all these people in here." Like, motherfucker, you guys have kicked them all over here. Like,
right.
It's not our fault that our business is not doesn't cater to ads and maximizing ROI, which is why like, that's not our fault. Don't blame us for just having 100% of the ne'er-do-wells.
Right. You created an environment where they can't exist. So they went somewhere where they could, and then you got mad about that.
Yeah.
And it's dumb because if you want how do I put this? How do I put this, Stripe? Racists buy ads too, and racists watch ads, and racists buy toilet paper, and racists buy Coke, and racists buy bread. You can
and racists have Twitter accounts though. The hypocrisy in this is racists have Twitter accounts, racists have Facebook accounts. If we're going to actually claim that that's why we're deplatforming people, then if we do that evenly, then nobody gets a platform.
Yeah, I mean, if we talk
racists eat ice cream too. I want to see like the answer to the Ben and Jerry's, the ultra progressive ads. Like, I want to see Breyers just come in and go, yeah, you know what? Breyers of Vanilla is the whitest ice cream in the world. That's how you know it's the best. Like,
Breyers ice cream is so white, we took the vanilla beans out so there's no confusion. Yeah, and Breyers could do that because I think they're so heavily invested in Walmart now. They could come out with Breyers Conserva cream.
I want to see the flavor Orange Man Bad. People have been making cartons. I do want to see that flavor.
It's just a trash orange sherbet. I want to open my Breyers ice cream and just have like a giant American or Confederate flag painted right on top of it. That's what I want. I want to
instead of Neapolitan.
Yeah. It's like, what is this? This is like
Breyers Grape No State. Yeah. I try to do Ethno State. It's not very good.
I don't know. I don't know what you do. We don't have the Ben and Jerry's marketing team, so the names have to be Walmart tier branding, though. It has to be way worse. It has to be way worse. Oh, I do have a question for you, Dick, from a super chat that I just saw. Landon Mack and James says, ask Dick why Death Note sucks and why he won't admit to me that eating booty is mealy as F. He's dodging me. Sincerely, your personal anime guy.
That fucking weirdo. That guy's always asking me about eating ass on Twitter. And I start out by making a joke the first couple times, and he kept asking me, and I was like, all right, I mean, you're kind of making me think you're maybe a psychopath at this point. Like, I've run into a couple in my day, and this is when I just kind of back away slowly, like Homer Simpson disappearing into the shrubbery. But now I'm back to thinking he's just very, very funny. Have you seen Death Note? Nick, you don't watch anime.
It's very limited. I just don't have time anymore.
You just watch Veggie Tales if you're going to watch a cartoon.
Yeah, right? Pretty much. But I'm familiar with the concept, right? Like, there's a notebook, and you write down a name, and that person gets iced.
Yeah, right away. It has like a bunch of weird rules. I thought the first half of the anime was interesting and cool, but the second half turned kind of into like 90210
Exactly. Actually, if you cut that show in half, you have an amazing show on one side, and then the rest, it's like, yeah, let's spit out a few more episodes because you know what,
Yeah.
this is a payday.
You know why? Because the first half, Light, the guy murdering everyone, I thought was the good guy, and the second half, they say he's the bad guy. And I say, well, no, he's not. You prove it. You didn't prove it, so you didn't earn killing him, did you, Death Note?
Exactly. And, spoiler warning, bad guy wins. That was one thing, too. I was like, ha, 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 he is the good guy. Now he's going to make the perfect world.
Yeah.
Good. I have a list of names. I have a list of names for the Death Note, but they're mostly companies. No, but to kind of I guess wander back to this whole thing. So you tell these guys they can't be on Twitter. So someone's like, "Hey, those guys still pay money. I can make a competitive service to Twitter." He makes a competitive service. You go and you don't attack them. And this is what really pisses me off about all this. So Twitter and Facebook and all these giant pathetic companies have this incestuous, Gab included. And this is what makes me mad about it, is that anybody who's doing business on the internet has this ability or this immunity from what other people say on their platform under sections 230 of the Communications Decency Act. So it allows Facebook and Twitter to moderate content, and it was supposed to be. It was intended for things like child pornography, for murder, for explicit gore, for you could maybe say for sexual content or not, but it would give them immunity if they were to say in good faith,
like a Steven Universe clip.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
Right. If you want to remove garbage, offensive stuff like Steven Universe, they do it in good faith, saying this might be infringing on a law or this might go too far. So we want to allow them the opportunity to remove that without getting sued. However, the way the law is written, it provides them a blanket immunity from basically any lawsuit regarding the content that's put on their stream or put on their platform, which means they can interfere with a contract. They can ruin your livelihood. They can completely obliterate your income. No matter how many terms of service you agree to and follow, they're shielded from any sort of liability. You can't sue them. So you can't hear what that means. I guess getting into it.
So wait, you're saying the 230, the Communications Decency Act, it was supposed to let them kick off very heinous, like child porn, illegal activities, free of consequences, but they're using it to kick off anything?
Yes.
Without any kind of financial consequence or legal consequence?
Right. And the way it's written is it lists off a bunch of things like excessive gore, child pornography, sexually abusive content and stuff like that. And then it says, or otherwise offensive material. Now that,
one of those things isn't like the other,
right.
Excessive gore, child porn. Wait a minute.
Right. So the otherwise offensive material was to encompass, because this is written in 96, right? Everybody's on GeoCities at the time. Unironically starting to play EverQuest or whatever. So they write this in 96. They have no concept of social media. The most social of media is like IRC, IRQ at the time, maybe AOL Instant Messenger. And then so they plan this out. And that otherwise offensive material in context is clearly to catch something that they just didn't consider, like maybe bestiality or, like the things going on in the furry community with animal rape and stuff like that. So that's what it was intended to stop. But it's been expanded, 2 decades later, expanded by use to allow them to take off literally anything that they deem otherwise offensive.
Oh,
go ahead.
I really wish you lawyers you take a lot of time explaining shit that I already knew, like in court documents when you throw down. But when it comes time to like explain something that's very important, you can't be bothered. Like Second Amendment, 2 sentences, they'll figure it out. Or this section that you're talking about here, or other offensive material. You know, why don't you just sit down all night, brainstorm, list them all? We'll pay for it. It'll save us a lot of trouble in the future if you just make it clear what you're talking about.
Absolutely. It absolutely should be that way because, of course, my theory of law, which is the only correct theory, and if you want to argue with me, we can argue in person. It's the only correct theory of law is that you start from zero when you're making any infringement onto liberty. So when you say, we're going to ban this thing, make it a list and make it explicit. Start from zero. Don't leave room for future bans. If you want a new ban, write a new law. Period. Because otherwise, this is the other half of my theory of law. Every law should be measured in, am I willing as the state to put a bullet in a black guy over this? Because that's what it comes down to. A cop shooting a black guy in the street over breaking a law. Like in New Jersey. Or maybe just choking him out. Like the Eric Garner guy up in New Jersey. Selling loose cigarettes on the sidewalk. And he ends up...
Yeah.
Like, we definitely want to kill this guy for selling loose cigarettes. That's a great idea. Or, what was it? Alton Sterling, I think, down in Louisiana, who gets shot in the chest while being restrained by 2 cops. He gets shot at point blank in the chest because he was selling his mixtape outside of a convenience store. Like, what are we doing? Why are we murdering people over these laws? They don't make any sense. So if we're going to restrict something, there should be zero vagueness to it. There should be no ambiguity. We are restricting child pornography, which is described as this, and include lolicon or don't, so that Digibro knows if he should hang himself or not. You just decide now. And then if you want to change your mind, it's amazing. We have this process where we can add more or take away from a law. But Congress doesn't want to do this job. They don't want to do this job. It's just too hard for them to work half of a year and then spend the other half of a year taking other people's money.
Well, you're never going to get elected if you have to be specific.
No.
Like you're running on, my campaign is, well, I am against things that are bad. Then you list them and you've ended up listing everybody who is going to vote for you.
Right.
I like how when you're talking about Gab, how dismissive all these people are of 480,000 users. You know, the population of Helsinki, oh, who gives a crap? You know, it's
Yeah, absolutely. Like 480,000 users, many of whom are paying and all of whom are getting advertisements and pulling in revenue, and growing each day. Here's my problem with Gab. My problem with Gab was simple. It wasn't quite as polished as Twitter is. So I had a hard time using it. And
I had the same complaint.
But it was getting better.
Ahead.
It was just that's all. It's getting better. And it's going to keep getting better as Twitter has what, like a decade head start on it?
Well, they can't do their app though. That was my big, like that was my death rattle of Gab, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. That's when I knew it was over for them, is when they got banned from both app stores simultaneously. I don't know if you talked about that. Like I don't understand why companies can't price fix. I know that. They can't wage fix. Like you can't Microsoft can't call up Apple and say, hey, don't pay any, but we're not paying any engineers over this amount. So why can both platforms, why can both app stores ban the same app at the same time? Like it seems like bullshit to me, but you know, you're the lawyer.
No. You're misinterpreting. That's just a coincidence, Dick. It's just a coincidence. It was just this weird happenstance that Alex Jones happened to be banned off of like 5 services within 2 hours. That just happened.
Nothing that can do. I mean, it's also a coincidence. Like Dollar General got fined for doing criminal background checks because it disproportionately affected black people. Yeah. So the EEOC hit that. They've got hit with multi-million-dollar fines, which, you know, is a coincidence. Is there nothing there to prevent these coincidences?
The only thing that would prevent it would be a person high enough level at one of these companies leaking the conversation, or at least details about the conversation when it happened. There's a case. It was Bell Telephone, which of course was definitely not colluding with other telephone companies. I can't remember who the other party was, but they tried to sue them, and then this is the exact issue they ran into. They knew that there was unfair competition happening. They knew that telephone companies were colluding to carve out their own markets, but what they couldn't provide was a single document or date of conversation or people present at a conversation that the court could then, request discovery on, like through either a deposition or subpoenas. So they filed this big lawsuit, and the court went through it, and they're like, well, but you don't say when or where or how any of these communications happened, because they didn't know. They were hoping to get discovery to find it, because they knew it had to be happening. It absolutely
So if it did happen, is that illegal?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Under what? Like, I don't know. It just seems unfair.
I don't know the specific statute or federal provision, but you basically cannot do unfair business practices and unfair competition. It's probably partly the Sherman Antitrust Act, but there might be something else as well, where when you get to a certain percentage of market share, all acting in concert, it becomes an effective monopoly or oligopoly, and then you have claims against them. But you have to produce some evidence in your initial pleading that shows it, and if you can't produce it, they get away with it. Now, what I don't know is, this is what I was getting to earlier with the Section 230 immunity that these guys all hide behind. I don't know. I mean, it, aside from them removing content, it gives them immunity from torts, like pretty much automatically. If they can relate it at all to their, editorial discretion, then it makes them immune. So there's a possibility that even if they all colluded, that Section 230 would shelter them anyway, even if it's 100% opposed to laws that are 120, 130 years old, but they may get immunity anyway because they're an internet platform and because they did it, quote unquote, in good faith. But in any other context, it would be basically completely illegal and would open them up to a lawsuit. But that's what I'm getting at with this garbage, is that these guys, these stupid companies, aren't private companies. They're not private anymore. One, they're running on government-funded infrastructure. There is no company on earth who can lay down an internet. You can't do it. You can't do it. You maybe could have if you got in like 1954 when they were building all the highways, and then you could do it. But no company now can lay down internet. You have to have a government to do it. All of these companies, Facebook, Twitter.
You couldn't have laid it down then, because this goes all the way back to the invention of the telephone. You couldn't have tampered with the telephone system at all back then. Bell would have had to do it.
Right. And that actually, what was it, the 60s when they did the rural telephone expansion, which was also through government.
Yeah, they controlled it. A difference of like an hour. The patent between Bell and the guy that brought in Westinghouse was like the difference between the entire telecom future of the United States, and like the last 120 years.
And Bell's telephone didn't work, right? His initial one. From what I remember.
I don't know. They were their story. Their story is so weird. The sheer amount of money that went into pushing those two towards getting their stupid piece of paper. Have you ever talked about patent law? Because that seems completely fucked to me. That it's such a lottery system. Like, there's a point where I get the balance of inventors and society and stuff, but there's a point where it's like, all right, well now you guys are just playing lotto.
Yeah, well, what we do with patent law is we've taken it from it was a unique concept in America. We were I think the first company to recognize patent ownership in the entire history of the earth. But the interesting part about it was we would protect patents for a limited amount of time to allow people to recoup their initial investment into creating something and to kind of reward them for it. But because of companies like Disney, specifically Disney, they have abused patent and copyright to protect the mouse. Protect the mouse. So now you get these 75-year ownerships on copyrights. You get virtually unlimited patent timelines, which is nonsense. It's nonsense because let's say you invent a better chair. Well, great, you invented a better chair. Don't we want everybody using a better chair eventually? So give them 10, 15 years of ownership and then let everybody else start making the same chair if it's better.
Yeah.
We've gone overboard, and it's all in we'll call it quote unquote capitalistic interests because it's self-serving, but it's not actually capitalist because it requires government interference and government protection and enforcement of this property right. And they collude with these people, and this is the hardest balance for me because I am for money in politics. But at the same time, like I can see the effects of what it does, but it's like I don't know. I'm going off the line.
All I know is I know who's powering Disney, and that's women. So we got to cancel women if we're going to sort this thing out. I got you off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
You're being pro-capitalism and pro-money. I mean, you're not actually, that's not pro-money when you lock it down and only have one person not having to compete for anything for 75 years. Yeah, that's not a...
No.
Being pro-capitalist,
No, and I'm not saying that is. What I'm saying is that I'm pro-money in politics because money is speech. So I'm against things like campaign finance limits and all that stuff. But... I can realize that money in politics has led us to these 75-year ownerships. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, and if you are for capitalism, period, not having a 75-year like laydown, obviously anybody looking at that would see that there's something inherently broken in that system.
Exactly, it stifles future invention because you get to sit on your thing for 75 years. Why would you make something new?
Sitting on my thing for 75 years sounds unhealthy.
Yeah.
I think you have to be 75 to sit on your thing.
No,
I'm not mistaken.
I don't know if you believe that or not, Dick. I would wager you don't actually believe that. I think it's much younger than 75. Because I do. But so the idea that this immunity protects them from lawsuits. So first of all, these entire companies are built on this government funding that gets them to where they are, and then all of their protection is from the government because they're not competing against other platforms because Gab has an objectively better take on speech for someone like me than Twitter. Twitter isn't competing on content with me with Gab, or with concept, I should say. I don't want a curated space. If Twitter wants to make a curated space, that's fine. Advertise it as such and do it all day long. But then when people go to Gab or when people go somewhere else to get their freedom, you can't throw them off the internet when they should be. This is the weird thing. Gab should be protected under that 230 immunity as well. They're just choosing to exercise it in a different way. And then along comes the real threat to freedom is that you just go after people's money. You just go after their ability to process money because no one's going to mail Gab dollars. Like no one's going to mail them cash. We don't do that anymore, and the business model doesn't work for it. You can't walk into a Gab office. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. They're going to set up Gab satellite offices.
Isn't that the same thing we saw with certain Patreons being shut down through the same method, going with MasterCard, basically going after a payment platform?
Right. And here's a question I asked on Twitter yesterday. Let's say you're wronged. Let's say Gab is wronged and has a lawsuit. At this point, I don't think they do. They might, but I don't think they do. But let's say they're wronged and they have a lawsuit. How do you pay your attorney? How do you pay him? You don't have a bank. You can't write him a check because the bank won't process your checks.
Really?
Well, if Stripe and PayPal won't process your stuff, how do you pay people?
You got to walk it into it. You got to carry a sack of pennies into the bank.
Right. But if we extend this to its logical conclusion, eventually the bank says no to Gab, right? Banks have done this to gun manufacturers.
Yeah.
They won't lend to them. So how do you even sue? How do you do
banks
anything?
too are more government than the actual government. Like at that point, it's like, well, you guys have more control over me than the actual government does. So,
right. There's a line in Hamilton, which I don't know if you've seen the play. It's really good, but Aaron Burr's talking about when Hamilton goes into a room with Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. It's just the three of them, and they go in. They're opposed to each other, and they come out, and the capital is moved from New York down to Virginia, and then they also approve Hamilton's centralized banking system. Right? It was a quid pro quo to move the capital to the south to give sort of this seat of power to the south, and then but then Hamilton in exchange gets the banking system pushed through, and Burr's talking to him afterwards, and he says, "Why did you agree to move the capital to the south?" And he says, "It won't matter. We have the banks. We have the banks." Yeah. And Washington D.C. is the seat of power of government in the United States, but New York is still the seat of power of money. And we saw that with 9/11, hashtag never forget, how much it affects us when you attack our money. And so the real riddle comes in. Medicare was talking about what'll happen when you have to have like a certified, verified account, because anonymity on the internet will have to go away. We'll have to know who you are to post anything. So you get your verified account. Well, then what happens when the grocery store says, "Oh, sorry, you got to scan your QR code and we'll check your verified account and make sure you didn't say anything wrong in the past week if you want to do business with us, because we don't want to do business with a racist."
Well, it's the Chinese, it's the China, what is it? The sugar system, their social scoring system. Like we're in an arms race with China over who can properly turn our technology or our manpower into a social rating system, into like a social rating system.
So what you're telling me is instead of flying cars and robot butlers, I got fucking, like, I can't say dirty words on the internet and without, I can't buy bread and shit. That's wrong, man.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, but the worst part is you can do the dirtiest stuff on the internet. You can be Maddox's cam girl burping in a bathtub naked for 10 minutes. You can do that on the internet, but you can't say a magic word that labels a race of people a certain thing, because that's offensive. Not being this weird, disgusting porn model burping in a bathtub. That's not weird and offensive. It's a word. It's a word that has contextual meaning that might be offensive or might be not. But no, it's exactly what you're saying. We're in this stupid arms race to police ourselves. Like we're trying to out virtue signal Canada or something. And guys, Canada is always going to win the cuck race. They're always going to win it. I
think we just need something better to do. Like we need to get
conflict or something. Is
this what 80 years of not having a world war has done to us?
Yeah, we get so lazy and fat that now we have to find problems that we can see sitting on our fat asses on the couch.
Yeah, it does. If you can't get off the couch, that's exactly right. When you can't get off the couch, you can only reach for the keyboard or, for your mini fridge. I guess that is pretty much what you have to do.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, guys, I'm not making fun of Canadians. I'm pitying Canadians. I'm making fun of the Canadian government. There's a difference there. But this, you watched Black Mirror, right, Dick? Did you watch it, Umbrella Guy?
Oh, yeah.
That episode where they had the social rating system, which is funny that China is right on board with it. But where your rating system, you had to be over like 4.1 stars, and then you got a discount on your mortgage. Yeah. And that's not only coming. These disgusting idiots on Twitter, the Blue Hair Brigade, want it. They want it.
They love it. Yeah.
They don't, and the funny thing is, I guess they don't realize that they're going to get downrated by people constantly. I mean,
That's the thing. They don't see the downside because, you know, while you're deplatforming someone you don't like, it's all fun and games.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean that God, I can't wait. Like I want at this point, I want Trump to go full authoritarian right. I think it'd be one of the worst things in the world.
I was just talking about this with Coach today. I forget what inspired it, but we both came to the conclusion, like, yeah, you know what? Now I kind of want Trump to be the guy that all these morons think he is, just to wipe this smug look off their faces. Like, I can't fight it. I know I want it. I want him to start breaking laws and turning the dial on fascism up. And I never would have imagined saying that 5 years ago, 2 years ago. But now I just think, yeah, you know what? Fuck them. You want something to cry? You want to cry? We'll give you something to cry about.
Absolutely. We're going to have to, you have to burn it down. I've been arguing against burning it down for so many years.
Me too.
And it's like, well, no, you know what? Just hand me the torch. Just hand me the torch and you get the gas and let's burn it down. Because what else are we going to do? How are we going to convince these people that this is bad until the boot is on their throat? Like, there's no, until they're down there licking the bootstraps of their oppressors.
But they like it. Like, I really think that the closest example I could think is like people who smoke or act recklessly, like they have a death wish. Part of them wants to die. I think part of these people that are building a system of social control, like the Chinese one or the ones that the Black Mirror one that you're talking about, I think they desperately want it because something in them is afraid of their own impulses. So they want, like, you remember when Joe Starr was on the show very early on the Dick Show, very early on, and he said, I don't want to have an armed society because what if I get too upset and angry, like waiting in line at Subway and just pull out a gun and blow somebody away? And I'm like, man, that is a real weird and totally understandable fear that you have of yourself. Like, I totally get why so many, like, if everyone has that, then yeah, definitely you guys should be fighting tooth and nail to get for more strict gun control. If you can't even trust yourselves,
right?
Then
yeah, they need to have their like BDSM sub relationship with their government. Like, no, please control everything I do. Oh, you were talking about that guy with the muscle pups who
oh, isn't that weird? Did you see that guy's balls?
Yeah, do you know that guy is connected to 3 deaths?
Yeah, I've read that Kiwi Farms thread a couple times. Yeah, just scouring it for more pictures of giant balls.
Yeah, people want me to look into it. I'm trying to find out if I can possibly get a hold of one of his subcontracts, because apparently he has a contract with his subs that gives him like total control over everything. I'm trying to get a hold of one because, man, that would be...
Of the contract?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I saw some of it on Kiwi Farms, but I'm probably not to the level you're looking.
I don't know. There was a lawsuit filed by either one of his subs, or maybe it was in regards to one of their estates when they died. But I'm gonna see if I can find it and track it down, because that would be ridiculous. Oh, Umbrella Guy. So are you familiar with this at all?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
I'm
there's this guy. He's like a weird gay bodybuilder thing. And he has, like, it's not weird to be a gay bodybuilder, I guess, or whatever. That's not the weird part. The weird part is that he's BDSM dominant, and he has these submissives who are all like these giant body-built men, and they're called muscle pups. And he demands that they like inject their testicles with silicone and get these massive balls hanging between their legs.
Yeah.
And I wish I was Dude, kidding.
Yeah, like honeydews.
Yeah. Like maybe
like they look like they're walking down the street with Paul Bunyan's cup between their legs. It looks weird and wild. And there's only a couple shot of those balls, but it is friggin' weird.
Yeah.
What did people do for entertainment, like before the internet? I'm wondering, before all these places that collected that, you'd be like, man, did you see that guy's balls? That's insane.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, did you see that chick's feet? They're so small. And did you see that broad's neck? Whoa.
She stretched that thing out.
Did you hear that chick talking about the gold standard? Unbelievable. I didn't know you could train a woman to do that.
You could call me up anytime, Mrs. Goldwater. What?
So, do you think that gun, you were talking about the fear of actually pulling out a gun and shooting other people. Do you think that a lot of those people, really carry that kind of fear?
Yeah, I think that's why they're so afraid of like hate speech and racist words and like ideas themselves. God, even what Jordan Peterson said today, that everybody using triple parentheses needs to take a good hard look at themselves and see what I'm thinking like so you must think that you have that these thoughts have this incredible power. I don't know. I'm not, I'm sure somebody could explain it better than me, but I do think they have a weird fear of what is inside them that causes them to project it on everybody else.
And it's like this lack of irony. Like they just don't have it. Like it couldn't possibly be a joke. Like they couldn't possibly be using the triple brackets or the triple parentheses to mock the idea that the triple parentheses even exist in the first place. They couldn't possibly be using racial slurs to point out the hilarious irony that we're worried about words when people used to get beaten, stabbed, skinned, and hung for their skin color. Like we're worried about the N-word now when people used to be drugged behind trucks. Like that's
I was researching like emoticons. You know how people are suing over different kind of emoticons. Oh my God, you sent me an eggplant. Holy crap! That looks like a penis. And there are some weird lawsuits about that.
Wait, really?
Yeah. You should in workplaces too. Oh, you sent me a smiley face, but the eye was winking. Well, that was sexual harassment. In fact, you could see it in that. And it's just amazing.
There was a lawsuit that was it was a sexual harassment lawsuit filed over a man licking his lips at a meeting. Like his mouth was dry or whatever, his lips were dry. So he did one of these numbers, like that. And a woman looked at him and she decided that he was licking his lips sexually at her. And he's like, no, not at all. I was, my lips were dry and kind of uncomfortable, so I just licked them, or whatever. She's like, no, he's harassing me in the middle of a meeting. Because that's what you do. Like, that's the time that you want to hit on women, is in the middle of a business meeting across a table without words. Just go ahead and lick those smackers.
I can't get through 4 slides of a PowerPoint without trying to hump a conference call speaker. They get me so turned on.
I feel like Adam Sandler is going to star in this lawsuit.
Yeah. Did you guys watch The Office when they're watching the sexual harassment video and Daryl sees the redhead chick and he's like, I know that chick. He's like, oh, she's dirty. That was my favorite, my favorite moment in the entire show, because it's so accurate. That show is so accurate. But
I only saw the British version. I didn't watch the American version.
It's
of The Office.
The British version is very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's great.
I like it. I do like the American version. It goes kind of way off track from where I think the British version was going, but it is pretty funny. Steve Carell, as irritating as every celebrity is, he's still funny to watch on screen. But I hate all celebrities equally, so I can still watch their stuff because I don't care what their political positions are anymore, because they're all stupid. They're the dumbest people on earth.
We almost had one with Kanye, but then he Then he
Yeah, I
duped
saw
us.
that today.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Kanye's talking about this Trump thing. Is that what's going on with the 14th Amendment and the whole birthright citizenship? Is that what Kanye's disavowing?
No, Kanye. He just said that he realized he was being used. I don't know. He posted that Blacksit website or whatever it was, and I don't know if that wasn't received as well as he thought it would be. But then he decided that he was being used for someone else's message, so he was going to get away from politics and focus only on creativity from now on.
Oh, I know what happened.
Like he doesn't know what he's talking about when he talks about this stuff.
I know what happened. He listened to that podcast by Malcolm Gladwell, Revisionist History, and he listened to the Sammy Davis Jr. episode. That's what happened. He learned that they were that making fun of black people when even with the black person's consent is not okay because that makes them an Uncle Tom at that point.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's
Have you talked about the 14th Amendment yet?
No, I'm going to have to start. Who wants to
Yeah.
talk about the 14th Amendment? I mean, it's so boring. It's a hugely important amendment, but what people like I made fun of Jim Acosta today cuz that guy's just a roving pile of dumb ideas. CNN's senior White House correspondent doesn't know anything about, I guess, con law or the history of the Constitution. But the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, no matter how the courts have treated them since, were written for black people. Period. 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 Not Mexicans, not Indians, not Pakis, not anything, not Japanese people, not whatever, not Jews. It was written for black people because black people weren't people. So when they're conferring citizenship to people born within the territorial United States, it was black people who weren't citizens. Ugh! And then
See, you guys should have said, like I'm saying, you lawyers should have been using more words. Should have said like this part is
They
for the
did.
black people only. White people, please leave the room. So these amendments only apply.
I'm going to find it. They actually did this, Dick. This is what's being missed. I'm going to find the conversation from the guy who made the amendment. It's his own freaking words. Where is it?
You know what I love? Everybody talking about how they're so offended that Trump wants to interpret the Constitution. And every time I read it, I think, wait a minute, I thought this was a living document like 6 years ago. I'm pretty sure all of you people were telling me it was a living document. And now it can't be interpreted? Okay.
No, it can't be interpreted now. And the dumb thing is, the court, here it is. So this is Mr. Howard. Okay. So when I say the First Amendment here, I mean the First Amendment to the 14th Amendment. This is during the legislative discussion on the amendment's language, okay? So
Okay.
Mr. Howard says the First Amendment. Oh, here, I can let me screen share this real quick so that everybody can see it. All right, and okay. The First Amendment is to Section 1, declaring that all persons born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the states wherein they reside. I do not propose to say anything on that subject except that the question of citizenship has been so fully discussed in this body as not to need any further elucidation, in my opinion. This amendment, which I have offered, is simply declaratory of what I regard as the law of the land already, that every person born within the limits of the United States and subject to their jurisdiction is by virtue of natural law and national law a citizen of the United States. This will not, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens, who belong to the families of ambassadors or foreign ministers accredited to the government of the United States, but will include every other class of person. It settles the great question of citizenship and removes all doubt as to what persons are or are not citizens of the United States. This has long been a great desideratum in the jurisprudence and legislation of this country. It's a two-part question. They have to both be in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And if you're illegally here, You're not subject to the jurisdiction thereof. The court immediately reinterprets this in Wong Kim Ark, I think is the case. And they say, no, of course people born here are citizens. But the difference in Wong Kim Ark is that they were legal residents. They were legal residents of the country. So they were subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. We have a completely different immigration system now than we had then, but we did still have lawful residents versus unlawful residents. But
how come all that wasn't in the amendment, or what?
Because
all that explanation. Because you guys didn't have lawyers didn't have cut and paste back then. That changed the face of law.
It was like 1870. So
yeah, like I'm not gonna write all that shit again. People can just look and read the other notes if they want to understand it better.
No, because it was literally, we all get this already. We all know that this is how the law works all over the entire freaking earth. That this is how it worked in England. This is how it works in, and Wong Kim Ark actually makes this argument that this is how it was, that when you're born under the jurisdiction of the king in England, then you're an English citizen. But it's under the jurisdiction of the king. And if you... Trust me, if you didn't have a writ from the king allowing you entrance into that country, you would just be killed by the local magistrate. They just kill you. Like, but all of these people, all these dumb morons like Jim Acosta are out there with the consummate historian's fallacy. Oh, well, immigration in 2018 is the same as it was in 1870. No, you idiot. It was vastly different. The Immigration Naturalization Act didn't come out till 1957, I think, maybe 51 at the earliest. And then I think it was 51 and then massively revised in 57. We didn't look at immigration the same way we do now. That's fine. But the court took severe liberties with the wording of this document. And I don't necessarily disagree with the court, but to say that Trump can't say that illegal immigrants having a baby here do not automatically confer citizenship is nonsense. Illegal immigrants are foreign by nature. They're under the jurisdiction of a foreign government. And the president is the sole organ of foreign relations, as said by the Supreme Court. And this is why I personally argued, although I was on Facebook and no one listened back then, that President Obama conferring citizenship to illegal immigrants to the tune of 2 to 4 million of them was probably within his power to do. It was probably within his power under the sole organ doctrine to do it. But here's the real kicker, okay? Are you guys ready for this? Barack Obama and Eric Holder, one of the worst freaking attorney generals I can imagine, argued against the 14th Amendment because the U.S. owned islands in the Philippines during Obama's administration. We got them due to a treaty, and then we eventually made them free. But while we owned them, they were a U.S. territory. And Eric Holder and racist, disgusting human Barack Obama decided that they would say that people born in the territorial United States in the Philippines were not U.S. citizens, and they won. I hate this.
Why? Would they do that? Why do they care?
I don't even remember what the case is about. I could look it up, but it's
Hey Dick, I gotta bounce, man.
Oh,
I
later.
gotta hey, it was good to meet you, Dick. And
You too, Umbrella Guy.
Yeah,
later,
man. We'll have to stream more later. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Like on a weekend when I can get drunk and not have to wake up in like 3 hours.
Yeah, let's do that.
Right,
Later, buddy. So, but I mean, the grand irony that their stupid commie savior Obama and his little right-hand lackey Holder, who, by the way, anti-Second Amendment Holder is fine just giving a bunch of fully automatic guns to cartels in Mexico so they can shoot Border Patrol agents with them. That guy argued that the 14th Amendment didn't apply to people born literally under the jurisdiction of the United States under Wong Kim Ark, and it's actually labeled in the research materials as the Supreme Court refused to extend the Wong Kim Ark ruling to this ruling. It's that disingenuous. It's that disingenuous to say that a president can't make this proclamation. And personally, I don't know that this is the right move that Trump is doing, but arguing that he can't at least make it through executive order is nonsense. Obama did the same thing. All of the presidents would do something like this when it fits their agenda.
I guess we're going to see if it's the right move next week, right? It
Well,
seems
when the
like a
Ninth
good time
Circuit,
to.
when the Ninth Circuit shuts it down.
Yeah, and everyone goes, oh, well, I got to vote then. His entire base goes, yep, well, I got to get off my ass today and go vote because I'm pissed.
I hope so. Maybe that's Trump's ultimate goal, is to motivate people going into the election. I don't know. I don't really care. Man, I didn't even care about voting in the election, but now I do.
Same thing happened to me. After that second omnibus came in, and I said, I'm done. But then Kavanaugh happened, and I forget what else happened recently where I said, God damn it, I'm back in.
Yeah,
I got to go vote again.
Right. It's ridiculous. I don't want to go vote on a that's what, Thursday?
Yeah.
Or is it next week? I don't even know anymore. I'll find it. I can't not find it. Because it's too important. It's too important. And it's so ridiculous because I am opposed to presidential authority. I was opposed to Trump being elected, but now I just want him to test the limits. I want him to actually take back some of the authority from the judiciary, who's taken all of it. And I want him
Have you ever done a history lesson on the Supreme Court? Because I've gone through and I've started reading like the Wikipedia history, and it's really fascinating how they grab power, starting from the very beginning.
One of my early videos that I did outside of your lawsuit was a review of Marbury versus Madison, in which the court does the most hilarious hypocrisy that they can, in that they say specifically that to prevent the legislative and executive branches from exceeding their constitutional mandate, they have taken the power to declare things unconstitutional, to declare state action unconstitutional, which is not in the judiciary's constitutional mandate. It's not an enumerated power of the judiciary in Article 3. They made it up. Hamilton argues for it. I think it's in Federalist 78 that he argues for it, that's what it should be. But it's not there. And if they wanted it, they should have amended the Constitution.
Yeah.
But because they didn't amend the Constitution and they allowed the courts to just basically amend the Constitution through a 5-4 vote, because that's what it is, guys. They're amending the Constitution, which you would normally have to get, a supermajority House and Senate, and then 2/3 of the states to sign on to a constitutional amendment. The court does it with a 5-4 vote of unelected people all the time.
Yeah,
and
that's interesting.
And now we don't have to do amendments. I think it was Jefferson who basically said, yeah, we're probably going to have pretty much a new constitution every 30 years or so because we'll be amending this thing.
Wrong.
Yeah, wrong. The court will just change that idea. The court will just change
that. I'd love to bring those guys back forward in time and sit them down and go, oh, you guys, you really thought that this piece of, you really thought that we couldn't fuck this up? What's wrong? Who's the big brain that thought that we could ruin this republic in 70 years? Which one of you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's not big enough. You needed 2 pieces of paper for this, gentlemen. You needed 2. You cheap asses.
Go kill and skin and dry another sheep and get some more papyrus.
We'll wait.
You chumps.
We'll wait while you do it. Go get more ink. I don't know why. Right in the margins. I don't know why you didn't think you needed more than this 1 piece of paper to do it.
Well, and because of this, like our court system's an absolute disaster, right? It takes forever. You know this. It's the longest, most expensive process. But let me propose this. The Supreme Court as we know it is 9 crusty old judges who sit there. Well, 8 and Ruth Bader Ginsburg's corpse. who sit on the bench and they lord over us, right? Like that's what it is. But that's not in the Constitution either. That's from the Judiciary Act. The Supreme Court could literally be, and probably was intended to be, a much bigger entity with offices all over the place.
Really? How do you think they were supposed to reach their decisions?
Because we think of the Supreme Court as just this one court, right? Like a physical courtroom with a physical group of people. But that's not what the Supreme Court has to be. The Supreme Court could be 7,000 justices, and there could be a branch office in every state. I mean, that's what we do with all sorts of federal institutions is like you have an EPA office in every major city and pretty much in every tiny community as well.
And they would all read the arguments and weigh in, and then there'd be some kind of a consensus based on 7,000 or something like that you're saying?
No. You just have local, like the same thing we do with appellate courts. So the appellate courts are something like 12. You've got like 12 appellate justices in each circuit, right? And a 3-justice panel hears the case, and then they decide. And if the appellate court needs to further review that case, they'll do an en banc review, and like all 12 will reread the same pleadings, and then they'll go ahead and render a decision based on a majority vote of the 12 rather than a majority vote of the 3. The Supreme Court could easily, especially today, be set up to do something like that. But my point in this is that the Supreme Court wasn't supposed to make these giant sweeping proclamations about constitutionality, in my opinion. It's because it's not in the Constitution. And I figured if they wanted them to do that, they would have put it there. Instead, they were to resolve disputes between states, disputes between all this stuff that they have a list of original jurisdiction stuff that goes directly to the Supreme Court. And that's what they're supposed to do. And the argument would be, well, that, now that would be too much stuff or whatever for them to handle the caseload, but not if you have a Supreme Court office in every single state hearing this stuff and rendering decisions at a Supreme Court level. Like you could honestly do that. There's no problem with it. That's what the Constitution was probably designed to do. And if we did that, they wouldn't need to make sweeping declarations because we'd have a Supreme Court that would be deciding the individual cases over and over again. Like, does this fall under the law? And if the government keeps getting sued and keeps losing the lawsuits, they're going to change the law. You don't need the Supreme Court to make it unconstitutional. And if they are tired of losing, they'll make a constitutional amendment to make it constitutional.
People need something that they can call God, I think. Like, you can't have a bunch of little decisions. They need one guy. Like, well, that's a bad idea because everybody works best when they can get punched in the face. Like, it's a very bad idea to have one group of people running making decisions for an entire country where they can't get punched in the face, but we shouldn't do that. It's the same thing for, I assume you know all about it. Article the First Amendment that didn't pass that was going to restrict the size of districts to 30,000 people.
Yeah.
Which is in my opinion, that's the one that is the failure to pass Article the First and is the mistake that doomed the United States to failure, because it's turned our congressional districts into, it's turned the representatives in some congressional districts into untouchable celebrities that control so much money and power. It's impossible to dethrone them. You can't just show up at their house and sit them down. Like, my district is, I think my congressional district is split between where I live and like a swath of the barrio in LA, where our concerns we're practically enemies. Half of the district of itself. So you've got these extremely powerful representatives who, since they can't control all their constituents' problems, they have to take on these huge staffs to do it, which would be covered by having smaller districts. It sounds like it's the same thing you're talking about, having a distributed Supreme Court that only tends to states and having like thousands of them versus having a 9. It sounds the same as having a Congress that's 7,000 people strong and actually is representative, and where you might have like actual pig farmers, or you might have a couple homeless guys in Congress, for God's sake, speaking directly for the people they represent.
Absolutely. And I wanted to say, I never actually got around to telling you, you covered this on your show, and it was fantastic.
Oh, great. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah. Someone in the chat just mentioned that you'd have like 10,000 representatives. Yes.
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah.
And guys, if you think...
And they'd have no staff. They'd have no secretaries. Like that, we currently have 10,000 representatives. It's just that they all have to go ask their boss.
Right. And you didn't vote for 98% of them. Instead, you voted for the dumbest ones. You voted for the dumbest people in any room they walk in. I know congressmen. Some of them are friends of mine. They're the least qualified person to be in any room. And that's the government we chose, but we didn't choose to limit it to the 435 dumbest House reps and the 100 dumbest senators. We didn't do that. That was imposed upon us actually in the early 1900s, of course.
Yeah, they figured out the Fed, the IRS, limiting Congress size. They figured it all at the same time.
And no, we don't want to increase state size. We're saying it's already that big. It's just that you're not voting on those guys. You're not voting on the staff who actually write the law and who tell the dumbest guy in the room what to think. Like if you please go talk to, make friends with a congressman. It can be painful at times. Make friends with a congressman and then talk to them about how they decide to pass a law. And then if you haven't killed yourself after, think about the question again. Because they were told by a 26-year-old junior staffer who's never worked anywhere other than Walmart during the summers or some internship with a special interest group. They're told by them what to think about any given issue. The 45, 50-year-old statesman has no idea what you think about it. They're getting their information from a hipster with thick frame glasses whose job that morning was to go get coffee, but they're the best political advisor that the guy has. And I don't care if you're talking Republican or Democrat. It's the same people. People who were baristas last week. Then they graduated from their random community college with a political science degree, associate's degree, and then they went and worked for Congress because their mom knew the congressman, and then that's how they got on staff. And trust me, that's actually how this plays out. And that's the person writing your laws. The person you elect, they don't write it. They probably don't even read it in 90% of the cases. Think about this. This is something you brought up on your show. China has a more representative legislature than the United States.
I know. I still can't believe that. It's terrible, and they seem to also be a more homogenous culture too. Is that? I mean, they don't have well, I mean, maybe that's not true, but it is the representative thing is insane to me. It's also crazy to me how much we worship free speech as that's our number one, that's our First Amendment. But then putting these other not passed amendments in perspective, I think, no, it was important. It was third, though. The most important thing, the thing that our republic should be built on, is representative size, which would fix the Supreme Court and congressional representation. And the number two one that didn't pass was limiting the salary of these motherfuckers. They had had the foresight to see limiting salary of the government would be a big deal. Didn't pass. So the default third place of free speech is like a national motto, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
It's funny because I even talk about free speech being the most important amendment because it's first. And I do think in order of the amendments that passed, it is the most important. However, it's funny to think that it's actually third.
Yeah, we got the bronze Constitution. We got the bronze Bill of Rights. Golden, the first and the second place, we didn't get those protections, and we really needed them.
Oh wait, I got a guy leaving. Landon mine. He wants me to read super chats, but he's leaving. Oh, he didn't send one, but I should read through these real quick if you're okay with that. I hate to.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Everyone's sleeping. I'm up. I'll be up all night.
Kyle Whiteman says, I hate that I always have to work at 4 a.m. and miss your live streams. Keep up the good work. Hopefully you'll see this later, buddy. Clinging Mars says, that Umbrella Guy appearance gets you my shekels. Andrew Gluck says, for the Road Rage Ardbeg Fund, super chat drink. Bagel Goose says, 3 gentle kisses for Tug's channel. Akazit says, funds towards a new bottle of Suntory. Ooh, thanks, buddy. Ryan English says, see if you can get him to say transpire individuals and within that in one sentence. Hi, Tug. Oh, that was for that Umbrella Guy. I missed it. Sorry. Landon Mack and James, I already covered that one. It was about Death Note. Brandon B said, how is Twitter not liable for having ISIS accounts? Section 230 of the CDA. Of course they can have ISIS accounts. Just like Gab can have a guy who wants to shoot up a synagogue's account. But the funny thing is, every public statement of Gab has condemned the shooting, condemned the shooter. They said that they immediately locked his accounts and sent the information to the FBI when they found out anything about him. Like, it's nonsense to say that Gab was supporting the guy by giving him a platform. I've watched a guy get shot in the head on Facebook, okay? On Facebook Live. I watched a guy get shot in the head by the person in his car. I watched a cop shoot a man, I watched a man die on Facebook because a cop shot him, too, on Facebook Live. Facebook's not gone.
And the media is making more money off of that guy than Gab is. Like, they're still running they have control over running ads or not during the stories they're giving, when they're retelling it and raking in money off the horror of it. If anybody's supporting him, it's not Gab.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we can have a long discussion about how ridiculous the media is.
Yeah.
Lazarian444 says, God bless you guys. Tillip says, everyone should go listen to Death Grips, The Money Store. Also, Oddworld is a better platformer than Earthworm Jim. Ooh, fighting words for Doug. Gunsbeer Freedom 87 says, I was right. This would make me too mad. Hopefully giving you money will make me feel better. Thanks, buddy. Cars in Depth says, I want my synagogue to have a big brass plaque by the front door, firearms and training provided by the Cohen family. Andrew Gluck says, hashtag we're all Sean White. No, I don't know if I want to be Sean White. Lazarian444 says, Google does not understand how weak they are. People have enough processing power to render them redundant. The infrastructure exists, decentralized. I don't know, man. It's hard to get everybody on board with doing something hard.
Oh no, that'll happen. Every time somebody says it will just make your own internet, when they say it seriously, I just laugh because they think, yeah, you dummies, you didn't invent the first one. You don't even know how it works. The next one's coming, and it's gonna be a waking nightmare for you guys that are so obsessed with censorship. When the distributed blockchain Ethereum, when some of their lower level file system, when their file systems, when their internet products are robust and ready to go, as blockchain starts competing with like credit cards for transactional speeds, I think we're going to see a serious shift into a type of computing that will be extremely difficult to wrangle in.
I hope so.
I remember when DSL just came out and there was a glut of actual competition. Like there would be 3 or 4 competitors for DSL access in your neighborhood. I remember when they destroyed it, and it was like overnight, all the competition was gone, and it was only either cable or DSL. And
yeah,
they were promoting. Yeah, go ahead.
That was ADSL time, right? Like they had DSL and then they had ADSL coming out. I remember because I was a computer salesman at Circuit City, and they had ADSL cards in like the computers.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, yeah, you can use this. It's going to be this new thing, and then it vanished.
It turned from all of the competition I forget who did it, but they said it was a threat to cable So they killed it all. They killed it all and made. That's when they started doing the bundling, the last mile bundling, which killed all the competition.
Yep.
That would have been okay. They found a way to kill that. I think they're gonna have a real hard time killing Ethereum when there's some kind of like when the actual blockchain gets into chips, when you carry it around with you, and when they can sell it as like a creditless system. The app killer, I think that the killer app that's going to be on it is what everybody uses their tech for every day anyway, credit, like transactional costs. When they develop a system that you don't have to even think about, that just goes with you, and you can pay for everything based on it, and Amazon is pushing it, I think that will significantly change a lot of these arguments that we're screaming at today.
I think whatever even the worst of the tech companies, like I honestly put Twitter and Facebook in with the worst of the tech companies, but whatever the worst tech companies think, they have to be pushing, like they have to see Gab get taken down and think, we're at the mercy. They're at the mercy of MasterCard still. They're at the mercy of Visa and American Express. Mm-hmm. And this is what I can't stress enough to people, like your average person who's like, well, but my speech won't get taken down because I don't say the N-word or whatever. And I'm really not super concerned about my speech being taken down. But it's not about your speech getting taken down. It's about the avenues that you choose to speak on being limited to this specific group. And you're funneling your money into Twitter, and you're going to create this monstrosity. I mean, we already have it, but these companies, like if we shut down any competition to Twitter and Facebook, then we're going to be stuck with Twitter and Facebook forever. And the barrier to entry will be impossible because ignore Gab getting shut down. Who is going to Gab? At this point, it was only people kicked off of Twitter. And then a few other people who want to enter, but like your grandpa might be on Twitter, but your grandpa definitely is not on Gab. Your grandpa is almost guaranteed to be on Facebook, but then it's like less for Twitter and way down the chain for something like Gab. But we're going to funnel all of these people into major things that will be monopolistic, that will have government protection, and there will be no way to unseat them because you won't have the ability to do it. And if you do, they won't make a phone call to MasterCard or Visa or whoever and just get the other competitor shut down. They won't make the phone call. They'll just happen to meet them at the coffee shop next door because they're all in the same town.
Yeah. I think it's easier for people to think of offensive speech as something that makes them feel gross or bad. They wouldn't say like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, I don't say the N-word. But the truth is what's offensive about it is that it's bad for advertising. It's not how it makes people feel. It's that ROI decreases when people are using these words. A lot of other things decrease ROI. Being critical of products decrease ROI. Like being overly positive decreases ROI. So they're not going to stop with just a couple of words. They won't stop until they've A/B tested their to maximize whatever ad profits they're getting off of them.
Yeah, and if you want to know what that does, just look at polling in Texas. Like if you want to know what increases ROI, it's lying to you about Beto O'Rourke having a chance against Ted Cruz, right? like honestly, go to East Texas and talk to someone about Beto O'Rourke of voting age. Like just talk to someone and just see if they try to shoot someone in the middle of your conversation about it. But it increases ad revenue to have a close race. Like it increased ad revenue to have Hillary Clinton winning, and then have Trump win. Like you can't trust polling reports because they're businesses that operate on ads like everything else. And I don't know why people don't. I guess they just don't sit around and think about it. But it's all ad revenue. And it makes much more sense to have close races than far races if you have ad revenue, no matter what it's going to end up being. And it's like, oh, wow. Actually, at the last minute, we think the Republican or the Democrat is going to win by 8 points. When we just yesterday, they were 2 points, but some massive change suddenly impacted 80% of the population in a district. You know, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get back into these. Sorry. Landon Mac and James says, ask Dick why you won't get me on as your personal anime recommender. Yes, Dick Death Note blows, but I'll rage all over your Twitter and eating butt.
Is that guy again?
Yep. And then he said one more. Darn it, Dick. Get me on. I'm Nick's anime guy. Autism. He wants to be on your show desperately.
Oh, he wants to be on the show? Well, pitch me something. Email me a bid, for God's sake.
Landon,
give me a Goblin Slayer review.
Oh, that's a good idea. I watched the first episode of that, but my favorite thing to come out of Goblin Slayer so far was a meme where he's going in to kill all the goblin children. And the door. You've seen the first episode, I assume?
I've read the comic. I haven't seen any of the episodes.
This will work though. So in the first comic, like he goes in to kill the children. They're like in that door in the back room or whatever.
The baby goblins, the kid guy. Yeah.
Yeah. The door is labeled Africa, and he opens it up and goes in, and all the little goblin kids are the Rains. And then he holds up the club, and the club is labeled "My Blessings." God, it was funny.
Wait, what? I don't get that.
Like the Toto song, "I Bless the Rains Down in Africa."
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Akazit says, why are safe harbors from antitrust rules being distributed per industry? Finished reading HHS targeting pharmaceutical and PBM and was like, just now? Oh, dude, that's some deep dive. I'll have to send me a link on that. I'm not quite familiar. I mean, there are safe harbors from antitrust stuff in various industries. For like, there are recognized monopolies that we're just okay with, like Major League Baseball, Diamond Distributing in the comic book industry is a recognized monopoly. Marvel and DC arguably are like an oligopoly. So I don't know. We do very selective applications of antitrust, and there are weird loopholes to it, which is, if you're going to be against monopolies, you should be against them. Not for the ones that you like, because baseball's a pastime or whatever. Lazarian says Google is not as powerful as they want you to believe. And then he also says, Canadian here, I'm no fan of globalist BS. Many people here wish we had a leader who stood up for our country like your president. Unfortunately, Justin Trudeau doesn't stand up. He just bends over. Akazit says President Trump passes executive orders to ban furries. I think we can get behind that. Darth Bobcat says new Trump order, pumpkin spice banned, also high, that umbrella guy. Yeah, the pumpkin spice thing is.
Oh, I would love that. That's the president I want now. Pumpkin spice is now illegal. Take that.
Could you imagine, like, hello, I'd like to address the American people today. Pumpkin spice is absolutely disgusting, and the people who eat it are degenerates, and it's got to go. It's got to go. So my administration.
I feel self-conscious because I am orange and pumpkins are oranges, so there will be no pumpkin spice.
This is a personal threat against me.
I think he could get away with a lot of stuff if he would do stuff like that.
I think that isn't that what he's been getting away with? Like doing. Yeah. I mean, he's just being the master troll has gotten him to the presidency.
God, nothing. I think him shitting on the Dodgers when they pulled, I forget his name already. When he was after the second to last loss and the Dodgers, he's playing armchair manager, saying why would the Dodgers pull their pitcher who hasn't got one hit and put in somebody who's gotten who's weak and people hit on him all the time. Just bad management. It's like right after they lost. It's so humiliating. It was a great FU to LA.
Yeah. Well, they didn't vote for him.
Oh yeah. No, he's been punishing the coastal cities with their lowering their mortgage write-offs and stuff. It's been hilarious.
I have been wanting, man, my biggest criticism of Trump was how he handled the immigration ban the first time when Hawaii.
Oh yeah.
When Hawaii did it. You know what I wanted him to do? Reagan, fired the entire FAA when the air traffic controllers threatened to strike, and Reagan's like, if you strike, you're fired tomorrow. And so then they struck, and then he just fired all of them. He's like, yeah, eat it, idiots. And I wanted Trump to do something similar when when the Hawaii judge overturned the first executive order. I wanted nothing more than Trump to say, you know what? The FAA, the air traffic controllers in Hawaii are furloughed because could you imagine?
So their air travel's just fucked.
Could you imagine what that would do to Hawaii? Like you furlough
all their tourism is shot to hell. Yeah.
See if they last a week and a half without air travel in Hawaii. Like, and he could just say, you know what? If Hawaii wants to let in dangerous people through their port of entry, so if they want to let in dangerous people through their customs, we can't. It's in the national security interest of the United States to furlough the FAA employees in Hawaii, and watch them try to sue him to force him to rehire them. Good luck.
Yeah, I think they're going to get hanged in the street by their locals before that happens.
I wanted him to do that so bad. I was like, please. Like, I hate presidential authority, but please do it, because it'd be the funniest thing you could possibly do in this situation.
I think being a negotiator maybe has a downside, and that's that he doesn't do stuff like that. This is bad negotiating. Like, yeah, that would be hilarious, and fuck him. But
the annoying thing is that the leftist commie god FDR would have done that.
Oh yeah,
and they would have eaten it up. They would have eaten it up, and they would have told just glowing stories about him still today. Oh, I hate FDR. Hoosier Highway says, I argue climate change only comes if billions die. I assume you mean like the climate of society and not climate like in the weather system patterns. Maybe. I don't know. Tillip says, you guys should remake Blazing Saddles. Dick is the Waco Kid and Nick is Bart. Oh, no. Keck7Go says 8 years old coal miner buying heroin with Bitcoin. What's more libertarian than that? I can think of nothing, sir. Unless they moonlight as a prostitute. Landon Mackinjames says Daddy D senpai, why you no eat measly butt?
Damn you.
There's a message retracted from someone. I don't know why they retracted it. But
did Google do it?
It says it didn't give me the message that Google did it, but maybe they did. I don't know. I hope not, because that's my $3.
No, they'll give it to charity on your behalf.
Right. Probably not
Planned Parenthood. They'll give it to Planned Parenthood on your behalf.
Matt Field says it's awfully nice of YouTube to steal super chats from you. I don't know if that one was stolen or not. I don't have an easy way to check it. Beer and Pretzels 24 says, I think that the 17th Amendment was what caused us to be where we are when senators no longer represented our states. Yeah, that's another interesting thing. The Senate was never supposed to be popularly elected.
Yeah.
Or I guess in theory it could have been. The states could have set up their own popular election of senators, and then the state Congress would just be bound by the recommendation of the local electorate. But they didn't do that. The feds did it. And it's funny how all of this stuff changed. The popular election of senators is one. What was it? Andrew Jackson basically changed everything just because he wanted to get elected. Thomas Jefferson, I think, was opposed to the vice president being the loser of the presidential election, and worked towards changing that.
I mean, it would make for a much funnier present day if Trump would be working with Hillary and ripping on Hillary, and it would I think a lot of people would maybe question whether or not they actually did have the stomach to run for president, knowing that if they lost, they would have to sit there with this bastard every day getting made fun of.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine him sending Hillary out to do all the worst jobs?
Yeah. Like, take the garbage out. Go do it.
Hillary, listen, I'm going to do an executive order tomorrow. I'm going to ban all illegals from having babies in the United States. I need you to go out and stump for that. Go to Arizona and New Mexico and then El Paso. I want you to stand right at the border crossing with a bullhorn and yell from El Paso into Juarez that your anchor babies aren't welcome here.
Maybe they saw something like that might happen.
Yeah. Oh, it would have been the funniest thing on earth. Bagel Goose says, slay all echo, echo, echo goblins, echo, echo, echo. Ooh. So I guess Bagel Goose is for gassing the goblins. Landon Mack and James again says, I've seen over 600 anime. What's your email, Dick? Do you want to broadcast your email or should I just get it to him?
It's Dick Masterson at Gmail. My email's been out there for probably as long as my real name has.
There you go. Your real name of Dick Masterson, of course.
Yeah. Of Peen Wienerstein.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want the stream to get demonetized because, if you say Peen Wienerstein, you're thrown off of YouTube.
Yeah.
Super Iron Bob says, pumpkin spice, Americans aren't people. Change my mind. No, I think if you eat pumpkin spice, they have pumpkin spice everything. It's really revolting. I hate it. I don't like pumpkin spice. I like pumpkin seeds. I like toasted pumpkin seeds just fine. But pumpkin spice is like too sweet and disgusting.
I just had some homemade pumpkin seeds for the first time. My mom made some last weekend.
She dug them out of the pumpkin, cleaned them up, and then toasted them?
Yeah, they were great. They were so much better than the store ones. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Oh, I lied. I did have a pumpkin spice thing that I actually liked just a minute ago. A couple days ago, I was at a catered dinner that my parents bought at a charity auction, and the chef made a pumpkin rum soup, and he served it in like a cut open and hollowed out pumpkin for a bowl, and it was delicious. It tasted like alcoholic pumpkin pie, and I was okay with that.
Did he come out with like a pumpkin on his head and wearing pumpkins for shoes?
No, it was a 7-course meal, and that was just one of them, and that was the only pumpkin thing in the entire meal. So it was acceptable. It was kind of just a throwaway. But I've wanted to do a soup and a pumpkin for a while personally. But Josk B says, my office is becoming a nut house. Thank you for distracting me from ranting about bike lanes. Oh, you have to deal with bike lanes all the time, don't you?
Living in LA it really surprises you. Your own tolerance will surprise you. I know you're big on the whole God thing, but LA will really put your tolerance to the test because you'll be driving through downtown and you'll remember when you could use all the lanes that are there, but now for some reason they've painted half of them green. And it's just illegal for for anyone to exist. It's like LA is playing a giant game of the floor is lava where nobody's allowed. We've laid all this asphalt. Now we've decided that half of it's just, we don't want to use. It'll be fun to just avoid it compulsively when we turn them into bike lanes. It's so, dude, I'm not joking. I think it was our last mayoral race had a guy that it was either the bike guy or God, what is it? I forget how the other guy wanted to fuck us. It was, but it was like the vote was either, do you want less driving lanes in LA or do you want a more expensive gas? It was some Sophie's choice where they were going out and out. Yeah, I'm Joe Bray. I love biking. And people would call you all day like, what do you think? What Joe Brady? Do you know about his biking stance? Like, yeah, everybody knows about how much he's in love with his bicycle.
Oh God, Maddox for city council.
It's a nightmare that they've given this beautiful land here and this beautiful weather to these complete animals and idiots. Go.
Here's my proposal. I'm gonna run for Los Angeles mayor on this proposal. We're going to build bike tunnels. Tunnels underground, and we're going to flood them once every 7 hours, but it'll be randomized. So we're going to get rid of all of the people causing all of us problems, and we can get back to being civilized and just driving cars because we didn't work this hard to ride a bike outside of like a park. If you're going to go to work, get in a car or get in a catapult or something. I don't care. Get off the road with your slow-moving, stupid bike.
The bikes they're crazy. We have that. It's called the sewer. We're just gonna open. I'm gonna go around one guy. I'm gonna write bike lane and draw an arrow into the sewer, and then just throw the manholes away to trick bicyclers to drive straight down into the cockroach infested sewers in here.
Okay, I have a couple YouTube or a couple super chats, and then I want to ask you a question about something I've been thinking about just now.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Matt Field says, no name / retracted message equals YouTube stealing money. Bagel Goose says, echo, 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 remove, echo, 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 the grabblers. And then...
the grabblers.
Landon Mack and James again says, Dick, do you need anime recommendations? Tweet me, cuck. Okay.
I don't have a need in my life at this point to get into an anime. I've said it before. I'm at a retaining wall stage in my life. That's what, if you've got some kind of a succulent that you want to send me, I'll take a look at it. Anime, no, I don't want to get into any anime. I don't care. I'm not going to learn any more about life from the television.
Oh,
I
you're
guess
wrong.
Is what.
You're wrong.
No,
and I'm going to tell you why.
Why?
I'm going to tell you why. You have to watch Grappler Baki. Baki the Grappler.
Okay, what's that?
I don't know. Okay, so years ago, they did like a one-off of the manga or whatever, and they had Baki the Grappler, and it's these guys who are like hilariously overproportioned, and they fight, and they're ridiculously durable or whatever. And now it's like a 4-season-long anime, and the clips pop up in my YouTube recommendations. And every time I watch them, I just laugh because guys are getting like their hands cut off and stuff, and then they're punching people with stumps. It's like, thank God he cut off my hand because I couldn't hit someone hard enough because my fingers would break. So now that my weakness is gone, I can finally punch with my full force.
You got me. I got to watch that. I love One Punch Man. Keon told me about One Punch Man.
Yes.
I started watching that, and I can't wait for the next season of that. The
guy who all he wants is like a fight that's worth anything, and he just can't get it. So, okay, but what I wanted to ask you about, I'm a huge fan of Michael Douglas's Falling Down, right?
Oh yeah, I love that. I've loved that movie since I was a kid.
What I don't understand is like we get all of the people and we all the random like incels committing violence or whatever stupid narrative you want to run with, the narrative that they just can't seem to figure out about the Las Vegas shooter a year later, despite the entirety of the federal government being at their disposal. They just can't find out why you wanted to shoot some people at a Jason Aldean concert, because apparently they've never heard a Jason Aldean concert or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I love that whenever a shooting happens like that one, we're like, well, it's a mental health problem. I think, I don't know. You guys seem a lot crazier than that guy, to be honest.
Yep. So my question is, why don't we have, like, you've never heard of a Falling Down? Like, you've never heard that guy. I mean, you have, actually, I guess, if you, like, know about the Killdozer.
Unabomber, I guess, is the closest we had to Falling Down.
Or the Killdozer. You've seen the Killdozer, right?
No.
Oh, dude. The Killdozer he's a hero. Like, before the Sky King, there was the Killdozer. So the Sky King stole the plane, right?
Yeah.
The Killdozer guy, he got a bulldozer, and he got so pissed off at like his local government that he covered this thing in like 3 inches of concrete. Right?
Yeah.
It's like a giant excavator. And then he just rampaged through the town, like plowing through houses and cars and whatever else, because he's in like a 48-ton machine going 20 miles an hour. You can just bust through whatever you want on Earth.
I think I did see that.
Oh, God, that guy is...
There was the guy that stole the tank too, but then he high-centered it on like a freeway separator.
Right. Yeah. He fired the cannon, which is.
I'm looking at this killdozer right now. This is incredible.
Oh, that guy.
It's like Mad Max.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
They had to get up. So the only way they stopped him is because the engine of this thing got overtaxed from carrying around all the concrete.
Yeah.
And one of the treads or one of the engines on one of the treads went out. And so then they got up and they killed him. They couldn't apprehend him, of course. That guy had to go. So they shot that guy. But yeah, chat, if you are not familiar with the killdozer, you need to familiarize yourself because that's what, like Michael Douglas falling down is great, but that's what it manifests as is the killdozer.
Expectation versus reality. It's stupid ass getting dragged out of his cement trailer. Yeah. Why isn't there more falling down? Is that what you're...
because like isn't that the narrative? Like, oh, you've got guns, you've got these people who are so like the alt-right is so mad at everything, and I think I
don't know why there's not more violence. Period. I don't. It's always always baffled me. What's that?
Someone saying he shot himself. He shot himself.
The killdozer guy.
That's what they want you to believe.
It's a false flag shooting. I don't know why there's not more violence. I don't know why. For all the terrorists that hate America so much. I mean, they all seem kind of lazy to me. Like there's a lot of weak spots. There's a lot of obvious weak spots we still have, but everybody wants to go for the gold. Nobody wants to be a team terrorist player. They all want to be the one that takes down the Twin Towers or takes down the presidents or fixes the whole system in one go.
Because wouldn't it, like, I hate to theorize about this stuff, but I've long been thinking about how ineffective these people are. Wouldn't it have been better to just run a plane into like one school in rural Tennessee or something?
Yeah, hijack a school bus. It's a lot easier. Like, no, you got one bus driver there. It's got built-in wheels. We've got 1 million of them. They're all over the place. That's exactly what I mean. But I don't know if that's not macho enough for them or what.
Yeah, they always go for the one-shot kill. It's weird. It's weird because they're not gonna do it. But it's like, why? I mean, I always thought with school shooters that like they're just impatient. They go in and they shoot a bunch of people and make a big scene and then it's over. And it's like, it seems like, I don't know, if I was going to kill a bunch of people in school, it'd be a much more methodical process. I mean,
well, there was
maybe we shouldn't talk about this.
Remember when Odd Guy called in? Yeah, we probably shouldn't. Odd Guy called into the Dick Show and he was talking about one of their mods, how he was like this obsessive school shooting archiver. He would manage all their school shooter pages. And then, of course, it turned out he snapped one day and decided he was going to set the high score. He went into a school and, like, he immediately fucked it. Like, he immediately accidentally set off one of his grenades or something like that. It was like a suicide bomber that, I forgot to take the pin out or something, let it off a little early. There's so much. Maddox is one of these falling down guys. Like there seems to be some kind of great filter that for whatever reason keeps all the crazy to people who are too inept to carry it out. Like he's a guy that fantasizes about. Maddox would have endless fantasies and vocalize them where he was going to get a drone and program the drone to spray paint some message on the side of the federal building. Like this down in LA in Westwood. This was going like the guy, every time we were around, he'd be looking and scheming about things like a child, the little rascals run amok. I don't know. I don't know. We all have that fantasy of like, what if I got incurable cancer? Would I go all Pelican Brief and try to set the nature of American government for the next 100 years. Like, I don't know what stops it. It's maybe we are in a simulation, and that's the only thing I can think of that explains it.
What I get to is this, and this is what baffles me when like, because every time they're like, oh, America's got so many guns and they're killing people and all this stuff, and it's like, wait a minute. You mean we have 300 million guns or whatever it is, enough to arm literally everybody in the country. We have enough to give one to everybody and maybe two to people, if they're special. We have 80,000 public and private schools in the United States, and we have one school shooting that's like what we think of as a school shooting. I was going to say of notoriety or whatever, but I don't want to downplay a school shooting because that's, the news's job is to upplay all of them. But we get one of those like a year or every 6 months, and we're like appalled by this number. And of course, no one wants to have a school shooting at all. But like the very fact that there are out of 300 million people who could walk into a school and murder people every day, we barely have any. And out of 300 people who could snap, and I mean, like you you go to McDonald's and you want to snap, right? Like your average trip to McDonald's
every day
could set you into a murderous rage.
Yeah.
And no one does it. It's always like this big thing that leads to this thing that leads to like someone doing it. There's got to be something in us that prevents this stuff. And it blows my mind because we're told constantly like how violent people are and how horrible people are. And yet, where is it? And thank God it's not around. But I mean, it should be much higher. It should be much higher. And what my ultimate conclusion is in all of this is like we keep begging for more police. We keep begging for the state to come and save us from all these problems. But the state isn't saving us from these problems. Like humanity just is.
The state takes a lot of credit for something that's just kind of built in. The violence thing is interesting. Like the psychology of training soldiers is always interesting to me in this regard too, because they've got to take like we're capable of committing extreme acts of violence only if we've written down that it's okay to do so. Like only if a certain number of people agree that this is what we're going to do, or there's some kind of magic watershed moment where you've got it like a teacher is now a murderer. Right. And it's not, it's like it doesn't matter who you're fighting. Like you could call them Nazis or saying you're the good guys, but it's just two guys. It's just two farmers on either side that are murdering each other for no benefit for themselves. It's some kind of like weird, it must be some kind of weird genetic hypnosis that kicks in when you get a certain number of people doing it. But you can't do it on your own. Like nobody has Alex Jones's will to, what did he say in that quote? Everybody has the will to failure. No one has the will to execute. They only have the will to execute failure. That was like his last viral clip before he got banned from the internet.
Rip
Aiden Paladin probably knows something. Like I'm sure the Army has done studies on what turns a regular person into a killer.
Oh, the Army is the number, like and this is not a denigration of soldiers, and I'm not saying that when they, come back, like that's the Rambo theory that all the soldiers that come back are going to murder people, and that I think that rate is shockingly low as well. But the whole idea,
they murder themselves. That's
right.
that's what happens.
I think it's because they know they can't murder someone else, but they've been deprogrammed from humanity and reprogrammed to kill. So it's like, well, I got to kill something. What?
Damn it.
But like the whole idea, they described, someone described boot camp to me as deprogramming and reprogramming. And it absolutely is. Like you have to go through some sort of extensive training to get the average person ready to point at someone with a gun and kill them. And it's amazing.
Still low. They still won't do it. So many people will occupy them. So many soldiers will occupy themselves with like support roles. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like it's amazing. I don't know what it takes. I mean, apparently, certain countries have, of course, figured this out. They figured out what it takes throughout history. Germany did it in the 40s, obviously. Japan did it, where they could actually just do you listen to Dan Carlin at all? His Hardcore History series?
No.
I think you'd really like it. But he talked about he did a whole probably 30 hours on World War One. And he talked about how you could never get a World War One or World War Two again because the mentality of people. And he was talking about the British soldiers who were in the trench, and their commanding officer would order them to climb up over the wall of the trench and rush the German line. And he's like, it's not shocking that the first group of troops go, but it's shocking that the second then the third ones go. When all of their buddies are literally dead right in front of them, and they now have to jump over their corpse to keep moving on.
It's so, the army is so weird. It's so weird to talk about because they're whatever elements of advertising they've tapped into, the memes that they've tapped into of loyalty and honor and all that shit. It feels like such a betrayal to criticize any part of it, but every time, anytime I hear about somebody going into the army, I just think oh man, just please don't, or at least for God's sake, make sure you're get something, treat it like you're buying a car, right? Somebody's trying to sell you a car here. At least ask to see the dealer invoice. Try to whittle them down. Don't go for the floor coating. This is the dealership. The army is the dealership. They've talked a lot of young guys into buying this fucking car, and a lot of them are not happy with it. So, at least go in like that. But God, it's a powerful meme.
Yeah, because it's really hard to turn down a GI Bill, right? Oh yeah, you come hang out with us for 2 years, and then you know what? We'll give you $50,000 to go to college. Oh, and we'll give you a 10K signing bonus.
Yeah. It's hard to turn down 10 grand.
Unless you're Maddox.
Hey, you've looked at Asterios as the new thing where he says Ramos sent them 6 dates to pick from, right?
Yeah, I talked on one of my recent shows about, I wasn't a big fan of Asterios' Medium post, where he was, I love Asterios, don't get me wrong, but where he laid out his negotiation stuff, just because, and this is probably the dork lawyer in me, where I was like, man, negotiation's supposed to be kind of sacred, kind of this pure thing where no, we're going to actually work this out. And I feel like that Medium post really tainted that, but I've seen it, and maybe he just has no intention of negotiating, and that's fine.
I have a feeling it was already rejected. Yeah. And he's posting stale content because the time was, also not a knock, but the timing was September 15th was when he made the offer. So I have a feeling, I got the feeling that it was already resoundingly rejected.
Yeah. And my distaste for the whole thing is, of course, counterbalanced and way overweighed by my intense desire to see Maddox lose, because my intense desire to see anybody who goes after people's jobs lose is amplifying by the minute.
In court, you mean, not with a settlement?
Yeah. Well, just to pay the piper. No, you want to, this culture of, well, I'm going to go after your job. That Umbrella guy who was on here earlier, he's in the whole Comicsgate thing. And just the other day, one of these pathetic little weasels who don't like the fact that people are making their own comics outside of Marvel and DC decided to dox him and call his work and try to get him fired from his job. It's you know what? I'm going to start supporting the death sentence for people like that. No trial. If you're calling to get people unemployed, people should be able to call on you to commit suicide.
You know what? If we make weed legal, if we make drugs legal, thank God we have all these extra cops. We can just make threatening jobs as illegal as punching someone in the face and put them to work. We'll have all this empty prison space that all these lunatics can go. They can go into prison and try to take someone else's job in the shower.
I'm friends with a Republican congressman here in the state at the state level.
Yeah.
And just yesterday, I was arguing with him about like being for legalizing weed, and he's like, "Well, why?" And I'm like, "Why on?"
What do you mean? That's the wrong question, you idiot.
Right. I'm like, "Why is it illegal? What is the whole purpose?" Like, I don't even really do pot at all. Mainly because I'm an attorney and that's a felony to possess a certain amount of it. So I can't.
Oh, for you? Yeah.
Yeah. I'd risk my license. So, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, but why is it illegal? And he's giving me all this stuff. He's like, well, but it is illegal. I'm like, I get it. But you're the guy.
Yeah, why?
Like, you're the guy who can change that. He's like, I would never vote yes for this. And I'm like, why do you want me to vote Democrat? Like, why do you want this?
Yeah.
What's the, he's like, well, should heroin be illegal or be legal? I'm like, I don't know,
Yes.
but maybe opium should. Like, if people could do opium, they might not do heroin. You realize
if
that
people could do weed, they might not. If people could do weed, they might not all drive drunk so much. How about that one, smart guy?
Exactly. Like
no one's beating down doors to do heroin. You've got a lot of other problems at that point.
Right. And I'm like, they send people to prison for weed. Like, you understand this. And he's like, well, they shouldn't be doing it. I pulled out the lame line where I'm like, how many kids need to die? How many kids need to die? Because one of my clients commit suicide early on in my career because he got a 5th degree possession charge. And that's not the whole reason that he commits suicide. But I mean, we were, it was like a week after he pled guilty to it because the option was, let me lay this out. The option was he pled guilty to possession, 5th degree felony possession, but after a year of no more drug convictions, it went away. His felony was sealed forever, and all he had to do was pay like a $500 fine, and I think he had either no jail time or 2 days in jail. So it's like he goes to jail for 2 days, one weekend, when at his leisure. He has like a 60-day window to go to jail for a weekend, and then he pays a $500 fine, and then his conviction goes away forever. Or we maybe could have actually won on appeal, which would have cost him to file it $2,000. What the hell is he going to choose? So of course he pleads guilty, but then something like 2 weeks later, he kills himself. So I pull out the line. I'm like, how many kids need to die from this? And he's like, well, you shouldn't have done that. And it's like, here's what he was charged with. He was charged with possession because he was burning weed to get rid of it. Like, can you imagine?
God.
I'm like, isn't this what we want? He's like, he should have taken it to the police. I'm like, yeah. You know what? It's a real good idea. Walking into a police
station with a pocket full of weed. Great. So
Drop
I should
it on
walk
the
past
counter.
the dogs, or do they have like a back door for people who are definitely innocent?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, yeah, he should just dump a pile of weed on the front desk and be like, I'd like to report a crime.
That's such a shame to hear somebody throw those NPC talking points out. Like, oh, well, should heroin be illegal? Like, I don't know, man. I can't even with you right now.
Yeah, and here's his other. He's like, well, you know about the cartels, right? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, the cartels are running dispensaries in Colorado. I said, so? Like, honestly, and I said,
the crappy ones?
Well,
which ones are they running?
I don't know, but I'm like, the cartels are running the weed business in Minnesota, right? Like, it doesn't matter. I mean, like, you're not changing that problem. That's a different question. But
I don't have to. The cartel has never written me a speeding ticket, so if I got to pick between the two, I'm picking cartel.
And then my favorite part is he goes into this argument about how El Chapo wanted to make the cartels into like a Fortune 500. He's like, you know, that El Chapo guy, he wanted to make cartels into like a Fortune 500 business with less killing. I'm like, oh my God. Yes. Can we do that, please? Can we just, if we just legitimize their business, maybe they don't have to murder a bunch of people and behead them and send heads to their local governments, like, or they don't have to skin people alive. I've watched a man have his limbs chopped off by a cartel. Can I not watch that again because we just legalize weed? Can we do that? If that's
it's
is
really
that all it takes?
it's really weird that you can have this much of a disparate law in two states of the same people. Like you move 10 miles down the road and now you're a multiple felon for doing something you could do in the other state. It's
and according to this guy, he's like, well, you know, Colorado's an absolute disaster. I said, says who? And he says, well, I talked to.
What do you mean a disaster?
He says, I talked to a couple cops and I talked to a couple Republican congressmen out there. I'm like, yeah, that's who you want to talk to find out if Colorado's a disaster.
This guy is, that's really his working knowledge is Colorado is a disaster?
Yes.
That is the...
Since weed became legal, Colorado is a cesspool, according to, quote, a couple cops from Colorado who have a vested interest in weed being illegal. Like, I can't stress this enough.
Yeah, their job depends on it.
You're a drug enforcement specialist in Colorado, and they made weed legal. You are on layoff watch constantly. What?
What an idiot. What an asshole.
Yeah, I'm just gosh, I hate all this stuff. I hate all this stuff. Like, how is your argument? And then, so he tried to pull the same, he's like, well, I bet you're for legalizing prostitution. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. And he's like, well, don't you know that, look, most prostitutes are trafficked? Again.
Yeah, because it's illegal, idiot.
Yeah. And I'm like,
that's why.
Well, so? Like, honestly, well, so, and so then I brought up the fact that his phone was made by entirely slave labor, and he seemed to have no idea that Foxconn, like, I had to tell him about the suicide nets.
Suicide nets.
I had to tell him about the poor Africans that are in charge of, like, mining the materials for his phone that are all basically under a random warlord's control, and their women have been raped to death.
I think every time I talk about how how our current immigration policy causes illegal immigrants, Mexicans specifically, so much like hardships, loss of loss of their civil liberties, loss of human rights, loss of their economic liberties. I think people think I'm joking. Like, I'll describe how you can't, like, if you're illegal, you can't get police help for anything. You can't negotiate for anything. You're definitely gonna get raped. Every time I go through it, it's like, this is the best thing for these people to do is decide one way or the other. Having a limbo area ensures that limbo area is going to be the worst of the worst. All the things that we invented, all these laws we invented because it was so bad in limbo. Every time they get like, oh, yeah, so what? You just really care about them? Yeah. Yes. Why is it so hard to believe? It drives me crazy.
Yeah, I like Razor Fist makes a really good argument about immigration and the fact that we allow illegal immigration. And I'm like I'm an idealist cuck on immigration, right? Like I want the ability for us to have people freely cross the border, but I also don't want to give them anything when they do. Like, and that's how we operated until the 50s, except for specific countries when we were at war with them. It was like, yeah, you can come into the U.S. You don't get anything. You're not a citizen. You're not a resident. But I mean, I guess if you want to work a little bit, go ahead and do that. We just don't care. I want to get back. Now, I recognize like terrorism and stuff like that is a concern. I want to get back to that. But
I mean, it shouldn't be. Terrorism is like what?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about lightning strikes, terrorism really isn't that big of a concern. But I at least get the argument. It's like, okay, well, we want to monitor who's coming in. Okay, fine. Like I understand that, but I want to.
That's what we have Gab for.
Right.
We give everybody a Gab account when they cross the border, and then we just keep an eye on that.
We don't let them on Twitter. We only let them on Gab.
Only Gab. Welcome to America. Here's your Gab. I'm on Twitter. No, that's not for you.
But if we could just think outside the box for a second, we can imagine a system where we do just allow people to come in, and then if we're allowing people to come in under the understanding that they're not getting anything, we can also track those people. And because they'll be incentivized to just go ahead and make a pit stop at the border crossing and say, oh, by the way, I'm coming in to go work for 4 weeks. This will be my address. And then I'm going to leave, which is actually how it used to work. Even after the Immigration Naturalization Act, it pretty much worked like that until the 80s. And then we put an efficient guy in charge of the border. We used to just have a bunch of lazy slaggards, like normal bureaucrats involved with the border, but then we put a Marine admiral in charge of the border, and suddenly everything tightened up. But that's a pretty interesting story in general. But
I
anyway,
mean, a lot of things work. A lot of things work when you've got a lot of people who can think things through. But we don't have that. Like it would be great if people could freely come and go, and they just didn't get anything. But it requires way too much thinking.
As long as we're in no thinking mode, though, I can fully support like a wall and cutting off immigration. Like, absolutely.
Sure.
Like, and Razorfist's argument about it is, if we let people just come forever, they'll never change the garbage heap they came from. Like, you're never going to get a governmental change in Mexico if all the people who hate it leave Mexico. They're not incentivized to change the fact that cartels and corrupt politicians have run that country for decades, and that's why it's a heap.
It's like just taking the country's middle class, draining it one by one, like the people who actually do labor. We sent our middle class to China, so we're just stealing Mexico's bit by bit, like a little trade off.
So what's, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I didn't have anything.
I was just going to ask, do you know what the status is on the caravan of people, like Israelite marching from Egypt to the southern border of the United States?
The Israelites with flatbed trucks and who somehow have like the Israelites that are on the ultimate hipster Pacific Crest Trail hike.
Yeah.
From the bottom of Mexico up into California. I've been tracking them on the little NORAD tracker they got. It's funny, but it's just suspicious as hell that all these people one day woke up and decided to stock up for the camping trip of a lifetime and are somehow making it actually work.
No, Pharaoh threw them out. That's what happened. They had a bunch of plagues.
Yeah, I heard they were going to get here like the day before an election or something like that. Oh
no, that it couldn't possibly work out that way.
I mean, no one would believe that's a coincidence, right?
Like, the organizational requirements.
It's the most cucked thing. It's the most cucked thing in the world. Why would you want that many dudes in your party? Why would anyone want that many dudes just rolling up through the front door and making themselves at home?
It's pretty much all men, right? Like it always seems to be. And I mean, can you imagine? Like, you know what? I'm out of this country. It's disgusting. It's dangerous. It's terrifying. I'm gonna leave all the women, and I'm gonna get up and walk with this massive sausage party, and it's okay. We'll circle hand job around the campfire at night. Like, that'll be fine. We're just gonna leave all the women, and all of these refugee movements. It's all the men.
It's all the guys.
Men. What, like, it's like, well, I guess if we leave them behind, they'll just be raped into oblivion. That's fine. We'll just go though. That's okay. I
We'll
don't
send
get
some
it.
money when we get there. Oh, we don't have addresses anymore because everything got burned down. Oh well, more money for me then.
Yeah.
It's funny to see on this scale. Like it is funny to see the size of this caravan marching on with serious like flatbed trucks hauling this many human bodies towards the border. Um, it's like Ellis Island level immigration, except the reverse. It's just like watching a burden march steadily toward us, and if they get through, it's that's going to be the hot new thing. Why would you not?
Of course.
Like it seems a lot harder to sneak in just you than it is just to caravan in with 10,000 of you.
Right. Well, why would you want to get? Why would you want to have to get raped by a coyote when you could just come in a giant group and not get raped on the way
Yeah.
in? I've got a couple super chats real quick here.
I think Trump's going to have to get involved personally and maybe like go down south of the border and point the signs in the wrong direction and siphon all the gas tanks out of the trucks and throw their keys and tie all their shoelaces together and stuff like that to give us a head start.
That just reminded me. Have you ever seen the movie Quick Change with Bill Murray and Randy Quaid and Gina Davis?
No.
Oh my God. You've got to this is you got to watch it. It's Bill Murray robs a bank. And he's got Gina Davis and Randy Quaid are involved with the robbery. And then they escape as hostages, like they're releasing hostages or whatever. And then they're in LA and they're just trying to get to the airport because they've got everything planned out. But there's a bunch of construction. This is in the 80s before GPS. So they get lost in Los Angeles and they're just like they've got the money and they're just trying to get away from the cops. And Bill Murray goes up and there's a sign and it's like, it points to the airport or whatever, and he goes up to it, and you could just freely turn the arrow back and forth, and so he just spins it, and he's like, I don't even know. But there's this scene where they roll up, and there are two Mexican guys on bikes with like broomsticks, and they're faced off. And it plays the mariachi music or whatever, and they both do the sign of the cross and start biking towards each other, and they have like a back alley joust. God, that movie is fantastic.
What is it called?
It's called what did I just say? I can't think of it.
Something changed.
Quick change. I think is what it's called. Let me verify that real quick, just so I'm not. Bill Murray. Yeah, it's called Quick Change, 1990. It's back when movies were actually really funny. You're just rearranging of the signs made me think of that.
Oh yeah.
Well, Bill Murray's like it's construction and the sign is literally like laying on the ground, pointing to the airport, and he just spins the arrow.
Or maybe they're gonna have to build. It's gonna be like a tower defense game at the border. They're gonna have to build the wall as they come and put up some turrets like Plants vs Zombies.
We need you need like an Escape from New York or Escape from LA wall with like guns all over it, where anyone gets anywhere near it and they just immediately get mowed down by turrets.
I think the only thing that'll make people happy is if Trump just builds the wall around California and they can come in it'll just give California back to Mexico. Yeah. That's the only thing that'll make Californians happy. I'm sure of that.
Yeah. If we just instead of doing a southern border, we just install a western border.
Yeah.
Just wall it
fine.
off.
People here will be thrilled.
You can fly right over it to go. California would be the only flyover state.
Build it all the way into space. Don't let anybody fly in from California.
No, I said you can fly over it and go to like Hawaii, but build it all the way around California so you can't even go in the ocean.
Build a tube in it like the Panama Canal, except for planes, so people can fly through it and build it up into space. So maybe Elon Musk can get us out of California then.
I don't think Californians on balance realize that the rest of the country just doesn't agree with them.
They came here because of that. Like everyone in LA, so many people in California were the dumbest person in their town. That's how they ended up here. Like they're so stupid that that the earth rotated without them, and they ended up in California. And some like they come here having no ideology at all and just soak up the one that's already here, I think. Or they come in with such a weak one. I mean, I don't know. I've talked about what broke Maddox and how he moved here and got warped into this sick culture we have here. But it is a city and a state of complete morons.
Failure.
Yeah. It's the whole state.
Yeah, and the annoying thing is they have so much economic power that they're allowed to wallow in their failure.
Yeah.
Like you've got Hollywood there, you've got Silicon Valley, of course. It's just and so the celebrity and power and money insulates them from any challenging thought. It's ridiculous.
Every day you wake up and the weather tells you that you're a good person when the opposite is true. If we had to wake up every day here with like Scotland's weather, California would be very, where you looked outside and you're like, oh no, I'm a piece of shit. That's why the weather's like this. It would be a very different state. But every moron, no matter what they're thinking, they wake up and go like, oh, look, it's God smiling on me because I'm so fucking great and smart and good. I'm going to go spread this poison to the rest of the world.
Maddie P on the road says, does that offer extend to all California dickheads? Because someone was complaining that they were California, and I said, you could stay with me until you get on your feet, get out of California. And let me expand that. We'll send all of the Minnesota Somali and illegal Mexican community, which is actually quite a bit. You'd be shocked, especially in my area. We'll send them all to California, where they'll be much happier with the climate, and then you guys can just come take their houses and apartments. Apparently, that's how we do things. Let me read a couple of these chats real quick. Bagel Goose says, Dick, watch Boku no Pico. You'll love it. I don't know if you want to do that. That might have been like the Kurt Eichenwald hentai that was on. I can't remember.
That's fine. That's cool. I'll get into that.
Did you see that when Kurt Eichenwald was like, no, I was just trying to explain tentacle hentai to my wife and children. That's why it was on my computer.
Throwing his wife and kids under the bus with that one.
Yeah, that guy's I gotta follow that case. He sued someone for battery for sending him a meme. They sent him a flashing meme, and he claims that it activated his epilepsy.
I didn't believe him when he said that, and just like I don't believe his hentai porno excuse either.
No, I believe that he had an epileptic seizure zero from that meme. And I think that he's shameful and should probably be culled. Not killed, culled. It's nicer than killing. Christopher Allen says the Killdozer guy had a problem with the local city council. He targeted officials in their homes. Yeah. And as an attorney who's had to deal with watershed districts, I understand 1,000% why the Killdozer wanted to run through the homes of officials. Like oh God. True American Hero.
That's one thing I'll never hold that against somebody. No violence. But we're always going to keep that one close to the vest. They're never going to get a full-throated, denouncement of violence against politicians. I will never give that one.
See, I'm opposed to political violence when it comes to like civic discourse, but man, there's some politicians who sure make me want to bring back blimp bombings.
Yeah, well, like the weed guy that you're talking about, like I'm just imagining talking to a person who's saying, well, yeah, drugs have to be illegal. That's one thing. I'll talk to them, but a politician who's saying, oh yeah, well, drugs have to be illegal, and I'm the guy putting people in prison. It's a little different.
Oh yeah, and like going back to that conversation for just a second, even though it makes my brain hurt, another guy in the room's like, well, what about sugar though? Like sugar is way worse for you than weed, and it's okay. Yeah. And he's like, well, you know, it's arguably worse for you. I'm just like, it's not arguable.
That's enough.
You can't.
It's arguably worse. That's a drug then.
Yeah, but the other thing is you can't die from weed. Like your body will shut you down before you die from weed. There have been no overdoses in the history of marijuana use that have been recorded. I mean, maybe someone out there has eaten like all of the edibles at once. I don't know. But
no, I don't think chemically it can, because it shuts down if you do too much, it shuts down the like the transport to your brainstem, so you can't.
Right, you just melt into the couch and go to sleep.
Yeah.
But sugar will diabetes you to death very quickly if you're not in control of it. Like you can easily kill yourself with sugar, and you don't even need diabetes. I think I read like a doctor's review of Coca-Cola, and they have a counteracting agent inside Coca-Cola because the quickness with which it delivers sugar to your body would kill you without, or it would knock you unconscious without the counteracting agent to offset the sugar. I saw it on YouTube, so it must be true. It also supports my argument, so I believe it wholeheartedly. True American Hero, who was recently banned from your Facebook group.
Is that Stove?
Yeah. He says hashtag legalize meth. Stove, buddy, I think you went a little too far. I don't agree with your banning, but I think you may have gone a little too far with the joke.
Well, didn't he not apologize? Like, I get screwing up, but then didn't they tell him he screwed up? And he's like, I did nothing wrong. You got to ban that. If somebody doesn't know if somebody doesn't know at least enough to say, yes, you're right, I did some, perhaps I made a few errors in judgment, you got to ban that guy.
I haven't been able to follow, but knowing Stove, I would hope he didn't apologize. But here, I will say one thing, not to criticize your Facebook too much, but you have the giantest vagina moderating in your Facebook group still, and I will never forget Dustin for doing it. It's Stephen Bailey. That guy, really? That guy is the biggest cuck, and everyone hates him. Even his mom, and I think his girlfriend who's in the group. I'm gonna say she hates him, even if it's not true. That guy sucks so much.
Yes, with this news update, I had no idea.
Oh, this guy blocked me like a year and a half ago. He's such a chump. Can you imagine a moderator blocking someone like that? That's to me, that's anathema.
To being mod.
Yeah, I think I might champion my position of throwing Stephen Bailey out of modship. we're gonna fix this disaster.
I think Stove should. I think there should be some. We should do something on the show for Stove to get back in, or maybe have a debate or something with him and a mod.
Yes, I think Stove should. I love Stove, by the way. I think he's hilarious. I think he should come on the show and like at least advocate his position for why he should be in there.
Yeah, let's get a mod on too, and we can debate it.
Okay, Stove, you heard it here, buddy. We'll find a way to get you on the show, and I'll contact Captain Donkey, because I'm not allowed to swear on my own stream.
I think it's an animal though.
Oh yeah, he's a jackass. That's in the Bible. Yeah. That's in the Bible. I can say it. I'll contact Captain Jackass.
And his little icon is a jackass. Is the animal?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and earlier you were mentioning the Bible thing, and don't forget though that by chapter 6 of the Bible, God hated humanity so much that He killed all of them.
That's a good point.
all the way to chapter 6 of Genesis, which is like 4 pages in.
And he flubbed it up. It's all the way till the last chapter that he gets all of them, right?
Yeah, it takes him a while, but he gets around to it. He's very busy watching anime.
Is there a Bible retelling in anime? That's the only way to get.
Oh yeah, there's a manga Bible. Absolutely. But the best Bible though is the like Ebonics /Jive gospel.
Oh.
I'll have to send this to you because it's really funny. Back when Cracked was funny, they did an article on it. It's like the Book of Matthew, the Book of James, stuff like that. It's like the guy in Airplane or the old lady in Airplane who speaks jive. It's like if she read the Gospels. That's what it's like. Matt Field says, same with guns, guys, Arizona versus California, etc. He's talking about the legalization issue where, all the places where guns are banned, they just seem to shoot each other a lot in those places. Good job.
Guns. I think Scott Adams said gun violence seems to be a Democrat issue. Because all Democrat strongholds are all the high gun homicide.
I was arguing with someone about this in your Facebook group. This is a long time ago too, but a guy I really like actually. So I won't name him here because I don't want any hate towards him or anything. He's a good guy. But we were talking about how they have, objectively we have more guns now in the United States than ever, and we're actually like ignoring the media and ignoring the hysteria. It's safer to live in the United States now than maybe at any point in history.
Sure.
Crime is way down. Murder is way down. Gun violence is way down. And we have more guns. So objectively, we have more guns, less crime. But you have these guys who have done these regression models where they say that more guns equals more crime because we've done these mathematical models that eliminate variables, and then we show how more guns has equaled more crime. Even though objective, like you could just look at it, you look at the statistics of gun ownership going way up and gun violence going down, and you say, well, more guns obviously equals less. And they're like, no, actually, due to our math, it equals more. And this is what drives me nuts about this whole argument is, but you can look at the evidence right in front of you and more guns equals less crime. But like you said, or like that one guy said, it's seems to be a Democrat problem. And of course, if it's concentrated.
Arguing about guns in any kind of logical capacity, it just totally pointless. There's like even the meme of, or the argument of, well, the founding fathers didn't have the kind of guns we have today. They had a musket where you had to load it. They couldn't imagine rifles. And like you're telling me the guys who you can go to see Star Wars, which we definitely do not have, got laser guns and laser cannons that destroy planets. But you don't think these guys could imagine a gun that just shot faster? Let's forget the fact that they had such a gun.
Right.
Thomas Jefferson himself had a semi-automatic weapon that he loaned to Lewis and Clark to put on demonstrations to scare Indians so they wouldn't be fucked with in every town they went to. Let's forget about that they actually had the gun and go with you just don't think they could imagine it? Like that's how little credit you give these guys.
Well, and let's forget that they also borrowed the cannons from private estates to fight the Revolutionary War.
Bringing the tanks to the Middle East. Like, all right, well, we're having a war. Call up Walmart. They got all the tanks. They build the best tanks. McDonald's tanks are kind of shitty.
Yeah, and the warships, the greatest weapon in the entire world at the time of the founding of the Constitution, were privately owned. They were all privately owned because they had to fight off Somali pirates even back then.
It's like every argument that people give for, the military guns. It's like, oh, well, then, I mean, what do you want? What would the military just be privatized? Like, yeah, it was. You gotta, you can put as many layers of abstraction around it, but you're still just talking guys into getting up off their couch and going to kill other guys. That's
right.
That's it.
And I think part of the problem is we've so sanitized the founders into these like upright statesmen and forget the fact that they were like, wait, you're gonna tax our tea? First of all, we're gonna kill all those guys, and then we're going to literally shoot anyone who suggests it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not 50-year-old man talk. That's 20-year-old man talk. And all these guys are like 25.
Drunk man talk.
Sam Adams brewing beer decides to fight a war.
Yeah. Men don't have those ideas unless they're heavily intoxicated.
Yeah, these guys were rough and tumble. Like I could just imagine sending like some fat stupid weasel like Ted Kennedy before he, thank God, died, sending him back to deal with Andrew Jackson, right? And getting just beat to near death on the floor of the Senate for being so stupid that Andrew Jackson would just come up and hit him with his stick until he was almost dead. Like, yes. Or saying something.
Who was that guy that Trump praised who like body slammed his opponent? And
that guy was great.
We're horrified that Trump would praise him, or that they're like, oh, that'll be the end of Trump. And then the next week, like, well, unbelievably, people were somehow receptive to this message of body slammer that's happening. I was like, yeah, because you guys are fucking around with our money. You could beat, I'll put you guys in the fucking Thunderdome to see who gets to do what with my money.
Absolutely. And it was a journalist, right? And he basically just choke slammed him into oblivion. Yeah. And you can just imagine this noodly armed journalist with his like manicured pompadour walking up and being like, excuse me, what is your comment on this? And he's just like, whoa! Just annihilates the guy.
How racist are you? How racist are you? How racist are you? Oh, wham.
Yeah. I'm racist enough to call in the Undertaker and drop a tombstone pile driver on your little pencil neck self. Of course that resonates with people. We've been wanting someone to punch a journalist for 50 years.
Oh yeah.
Like Geraldo needs every fist that comes his way. And I would pay Fox News to watch their content if Geraldo was getting punched on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's the right version of punch a Nazi. He's punch a journalist.
Yes. And I am 100% for the free press, but I recognize that we haven't had a free press since Woodrow Wilson started literally having sex with the press. Like he just invites them into the White House and just goes ahead and we're going in raw, right? He just does that and makes friends with them. No, I want a president absolutely opposed to the press because I want the press to be as critical and investigative against the president as possible, because I want to know when the president is screwing me, and they haven't been doing that because they've been instead whining and dining alongside the president, who they should inherently hate.
Yeah.
And the president should hate them right back. The Trump relationship with the press is the most healthy press relationship we've had in generations. And that's what we want. And I'm so, oh God, no, we want body slammed, get tougher press people, get a tougher press corps, get a bunch of MMA fighters, like get Ronda Rousey to go interview someone so she can get body slammed.
That you're in. I'm happy because it shows that it's working.
I'm sorry, the first part cut out there.
I'm happy about the body slam because it shows that that it's working. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. They should hate you because you're their enemy. That's why we have a law preventing the Congress from messing with the press's right to publish things, is because the press should only be publishing things critical of Congress. That's the only thing I care about, is that they should be stopped. They should be calling Congress out for their misdeeds. Oh, God. So anyways, if I didn't say it, back to this. Stove said hashtag legalize meth. Akazit said Asian shekels for immigration, your future overlord. Yeah, we shouldn't allow the Asian countries to come in because they'll actually just perform better than all of us. We'll be all out of jobs. Joskby says, let me live in your country. I'm sick of my frosty cuckland. Yeah, sorry, buddy. Frostbacks need not apply. You don't get to come in. The north border is secure because you guys will apologize for crossing it. Whomstead says Trump's executive order is because the army will probably try to separate the pregnant women from the caravan and don't want any legal issues if they give birth. Yeah, probably. Joskby says, both of you are my favorite content creators. GFY Dick. I hope you guys do more streams together. This is fun, by the way. Thanks
it is
for coming
fun.
On.
I try not to be too political on the show, so it's nice to not do that.
Oh, this show is always politically apolitical.
Yeah.
Because I don't care what party it is. I don't think you do either. It's like, stop messing with my money, stop messing with my ability to work in the way that I want, and don't tell me what I can and can't say. Like that's my politics.
Yeah. It just so happens that it's at this point in history, it's more conservative than not. And my hope is that the Libertarian Party will slowly infiltrate and take over the Republican Party. It won't happen, but I mean, if 50 years in the past or in the future, I'm sure my hope would be that the Libertarian Party overtakes the Democratic Party.
Yes. Oh, thank God. If we had libertarians versus Republicans, we'd be in a literal utopia.
Well, we'd have to repeal the 19th Amendment to get that.
Yes. I think, honestly, I think we could get women on board with it.
I think so, too.
If we tried hard enough.
Yeah, I think so, too. It's, it's two different welfare parties. It's military welfare versus welfare.
Well, here's what we got to do, though. We got to convince all the women to date Richard Spencer so he can beat them into repealing the 19th.
Do you think his new girl who do you think's going to win that relationship?
Wait.
I hear his new girl's pretty liberal.
Okay, so he's got a liberal girlfriend?
Oh, yeah. She made him take a picture in front of a gay pride mural, like a big rainbow mural.
Is she on like a mission? Is she like a Mossad, not a Mossad, but whatever the LGBT version of Mossad is, like that comes in and fixes Richard Spencer?
Yeah, she's on a mission from Moloch. I don't know.
Is she a minority? That would be great.
I think she's white as hell.
Oh, yeah, but she's got to have more than 10/24, like 1/10/24 Cherokee in her or something. Wouldn't it be funny to find out that Richard Spencer was just like Louis Farrakhan and whiteface the whole time?
Yeah, it would. I called Richard Spencer. Shouldn't he be a hero for doing this? Because he's punching a Nazi. He's punching the wife of a Nazi. Shouldn't he be celebrated?
Yeah.
Instead, it's not. It's like it's good for us, or it's fine for me and not for thee. They should be giving him a Medal of Honor or something, or whatever the progressive version of that is.
How was it talking to that guy, by the way?
He's very well spoken. He's got his beliefs, and he's very good at explaining them and elucidating them. It's not the kind of speech I like to listen to, but I could see why some people. I get the appeal that people have. He's very I don't see why people are upset with him at all. He likes his version of an ethno-state is kind of like Karl Marx's version of communism. Like he sees it as this he sees it as something that would come about when the current climate of diversity and I guess race mixing, he sees it as something that will happen when the current climate and attitudes fail. That this is like a thought experiment, more like, or at least that's what it seemed to me. People were bitching about me talking to him so much that I was expecting a guy who was gonna say that he is looking into setting up his own internment camps in the U.S. so he can bring that back to life. But I really think that he's just a cerebral guy who's engaging in this,
Yeah, my understanding of his position is that, and I don't I don't really care for his position at all, but my understanding of it is that it will be an ethno state because we will create a society that minorities don't want to live in, and they will move away. Like he's not calling for the murder of people or even the forced deportation. He's like, no, I want to create a society that these other people don't want to stay in. And I mean, personally, I think black people are too funny to get rid of. So I don't.
He wants to live in a giant Target. Like he wants to set up a civilization in Target. I'm not even allowed in there, so I got no opinion.
I love going into Target because like I hate going into Walmart.
Yeah.
Why are people so mad when you talk to someone? Like what is that? Because like I'll talk. Don't you want, if you agree with me, don't you want me to talk to Richard Spencer? Like, are you worried that he's going to compromise my principles?
I asked the same thing. I was like, well, why don't you call in and try to change his mind then? Like, isn't that kind of on you? Aren't you the one shirking your duty here for not calling in? If you're so fucking committed to this idea that he's a bad guy.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's this perpetual thing where we just want to sweep anything unsavory under the rug. And that bothers me because I don't want to sweep anything I disagree with under the rug. I'm not worried that I'm going to listen to an argument and suddenly want to kill all the black people. Like that literally is so far out of my scope of concern that it will never happen that some guy with a high top fade comes up and he's like, you know what? And then I'm like, by the end of this, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't like Jews and black people, and I think they should all die. That will never happen. It will never happen.
Mustache out of nowhere. Where did it even come from? I think people are just afraid of losing. Like, I think that we're like a society that is just so ashamed of failing, and that maybe they see an argument everything is a debate where there's a winner or a loser, and that somehow matters. And there's some kind of ego death involved because everybody's obsessed with it.
Yeah, I can't get it, but I guess I understand it. I just don't agree. Like, I always want people to say what they believe. I want that. I want it almost stapled on people's chests.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier.
Yeah. Oh God.
I mean, Spencer's a dick for doing all that the Sig Heil shit outside of Trump's. It's like, man, I get that you don't give a fuck about our trying to make it work with all the races here, but can you not do the Sig Heil shit around Trump's rallies? Because the media kind of running with it. You
hashtag not helping, bro.
Yeah. Come to your ethno shit and start giving out burritos and trying to tempt all the white power people into miscegenating their taste buds with my Mexican flavors.
Oh,
so
burritos are so good. But I've heard you're only as Mexican as Taco Bell.
Yeah. You know what? I ate some of those tacos locos after Maddox said that. I had a couple late one night, and they hooked me. I went back and got them again.
Do you guys have Torchy's tacos out in LA?
No.
If you ever visit Texas again, you got to go to a Torchy's, man. They have they have a taco called the Republican. And they also have an independent, which is a vegan option, which is hilarious. And then they have a Democrat as well. But the Republican is it's like a whole kielbasa sliced in half and then covered in cheese and guac and stuff. Oh my God, it's good.
That sounds good.
No Potato says, I resemble the moron remark. Okay. Super Iron Bob says, I would pay to watch Geraldo Rivera get fisted. Rekieta Law 2018. Well, I'd do anything once. And Gas and Heap says, how many atomic bombs should I be able to own? I need to know which of you is the most libertarian. So,
see, this is another thing that pisses me off because I'm apparently the only libertarian on earth that thinks I should be allowed to build atomic bombs in my garage.
No, you're not the only one, buddy. I'm going to one up you. I'm going to say it's always one more than you own. That's the limit of atomic bombs you should have. Always one more than you already have.
No one wants to be caught with a doomsday device that doesn't work. That's very embarrassing.
Wouldn't that be the biggest trick if like somehow the US and Russia had actually propagandized all of the like test detonations and turns out none of the atomic bombs worked? Hiroshima and Nagasaki were the only two ever.
Or they just sunk so much money into it they didn't want to look stupid. So it was all. We've been saying the moon landing was fake for so long, but it was the SAR bomb that was actually fake. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it turns that's what happened with those stupid the body scanners at the airport where you stand there like a dummy with your arms up. That several colleges did studies on them and found out that they don't actually detect any weapons. The only thing they were good at was like backscatter imaging of penises. And so then, but by what? Sorry.
They built a penis detecting machine. Great. That was Osama bin Laden's big plan. Let's get America look at penises all day.
According to court documents, they were commonly referred to as genital measuring devices by the people who operated them. Oh, and hashtag just a coincidence. Right after those things get in, Fergie is randomly selected for a manual pat down on like her first plane flight. They're like, oh yeah, Miss Fergie, come over here so Josh can grope you down. But so these colleges did the tests on them, and people were sneaking in like guns and bombs through the backscatter imaging device, and no problem. Like it's just how you had it set on your body. Because there are various ways to kind of conceal them. Probably if you're a fat guy or something, you just shove them in a fold. I don't know. But they're effectively useless. But Congress had passed like a $500 million thing into paying for them. And the idiot who gave $500 million to a private company to put these devices can't be shown to be the moron that he is, that he fell for a sales pitch on the golf course. So we definitely can't stop using them. So now everything is slower based on a technology that doesn't work because we just can't hold a congressman accountable for being retarded.
See, a U.S. where there's only 30,000 people who that guy represents, it's very easy to hold that guy accountable.
Absolutely.
He can't avoid it.
Absolutely. Gosh, that representation thing really does piss me off because you are supposed to be able to walk into your national congressman's office pretty much at any time and why are they meeting in Washington when we have Skype?
Yeah.
But you're supposed to be able to walk in there at any time of day and be like, hey, you idiot. Stop this or vote against this or vote for that or make weed legal. Like we should all be able to walk in and be like, make weed legal and blow a puff right in their face until they vote for it. Like
even the calling banks at some of the NRA meetings I've gone to, they'll make you do like a call the congressman and their voicemail boxes are always full or they're busy. It's such a pointless waste of time and waste of human effort.
Would you ever check your voicemail as a congressman?
I don't check my voicemail now. So no. I just let it expire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Why would anyone think? Because I talked to a couple local congressmen out here at a campaign event for my friend, and I was like, how do I get in contact with you? It's like, oh, here's my cell number. I'm like, what's wrong with you? I wouldn't ever give you my cell number. I should just publish this and let people contact you all the time.
This must be some kind of a trick number.
Right, yeah.
That you're giving me.
Incidentally, I've never called it because I don't ever want to talk to congressmen. Gas and Heaps further ask, Dick, any idea what your IQ is? Guessing 130 plus. Have you ever taken one of those IQ tests?
No. My mom was very into child development. She's got like a master's in child development, so I think she did when I was a kid, but I don't know it.
Sure. Turns out it's 84.
It's 84. Yeah.
I'm just kidding, man. I want a game show where you have to guess the celebrity's IQ within 5 points.
And they actually have to take a test.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
That would be funny.
It's like next up, Johnny Depp. 4. It's like Price is Right. So you've got the guys betting like, oh my goodness. And then of course I ultimately I think my entire life revolves around wanting to get Maddox in embarrassing situations. So I want him to be on it. Cause
do you think he's gonna do any of those settlement offers that Asterios like this? This is just for sanctions too. It seems like.
Yeah, I mean, there's the sanctions, and then Asterios theoretically has his case for, whatever it is. I can't even malicious prosecution.
Malicious prosecution.
Yeah, so I
was assuming that this settlement was for the countersuit and that the sanctions were going through no matter what. But then I just read tonight that that settlement offer was for the sanctions motion.
Yeah, basically withdraw the sanctions motion, and I'll give you half of biggest problem in the universe. I mean, Asterios, I think, played that dumb. In my opinion, he should have talked to you about how much it was worth to have that. Say, hey, if I get biggest problem in the universe, you want to buy it for 15, 20 grand, something like that. and then start making you think about it, because how funny would it be to relaunch the show in whatever way you want, like, but that's the whole bit, right? Like, biggest problem in the universe, I think, has a problem relaunching because Maddox isn't a part of it. It'd be worth 45 grand for Maddox to be forced to relaunch it with you. That would be worth the money to me.
Yeah, I don't think it works without him because he takes himself so seriously. Like,
and the funny thing is, like, as an outside person to the relationship, no one knew that until after the show. Like, we all just thought we thought he was joking.
Yeah, which is that extra level of frustration for me, which is even funnier because I knew the entire time no one would believe me how much of a crazy person this guy actually is.
No, there's
except for probably Randy.
No one thinks that this guy legitimately thinks a jetpack will allow him to steal the crown jewels.
Yeah,
like that.
But then this is the guy who's also this is a guy who's also trying to tell me at lunch that he's working on programming a drone that's going to spray paint I don't know what on the federal building of Westwood, and this is like his V for Vendetta moment. And I'm like, dude, you don't know how to program at all. Like, you don't know what are you even talking about. Like, this is on the same level as the jetpack scheme.
Do you know how to program alliteration into your spray painting endeavors? Because if you don't, you're not effectively emulating V for Vendetta.
Maddox had a kit. I don't know if I've said this on the show. He had a box like Doc Brown's time traveling currency, where he had every currency, except Maddox had a kit where he could build improvised parking passes for any street in LA. Like, Maddox got a hold of a parking pass so he could park at home, photocopied it, went to Staples, ran off a bunch of copies, and then bought these hologram strips online that he cut into the shape of the hologram that the official city one used. He got those address stickers, with the numbers where people usually put on their trailer or something. Right. He got a whole bunch of those, which they didn't look quite right, but if you went fast, you could see it. And he would sit there if he had to stay for more than 2 hours, because that's the standard like parking minimum or maximum in LA is 2 hours, and then they might write you a ticket. Sometimes they don't at all, but sometimes they do it right at 2 hours. He would sit there before a meeting, make a parking pass from his little kit, and then cram it up into his car, because you also had to write when it expired, which was usually within 30 days or within a week in some places. So he'd write that out and put his like, this is the man, but that is the level of heist that he's excelled to, is fake parking passes.
What's a parking ticket cost in LA?
$40.
Do they boot your car or anything? Like, I
oh
guess
God, no. It's it's 2 hours. Somebody will come by every 2 hours, a meter maid, and put chalk on your car. And if they come by again and see the chalk, they'll write you a ticket. It's like $45, $50, something like that.
Why don't you just carry a bottle of seltzer and go outside every 2 hours and spray off the chalk?
There's a lot of what ifs. It's just
or just pay the $40.
Just doing bad things, doing hood rat things was the appeal, I think. Getting one over on the system was the appeal.
In this stream, I learned that Maddox is ratchet out of his mind. I hope to see him on World Star Hip Hop next, ripping a shirt off of a woman and beating her.
Yeah.
Rick Nikita says, to hell with free speech. We need to send hamsters into space. I fully agree. Hamsters need to.
We got to send them underwater. Have you seen that?
Well, yeah, but the ultimate goal of the underwater habitats is to make the hamster knots to create a habitat that can go into space.
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't know
yeah.
that. Well, he said, "Well, how the hell is underwater technology going to help him in space?"
That's what NASA does, or at least that's what the echo NASA wants you to believe. That they train for it underwater. You know, they check the seals, the vacuum seals, and everything.
I guess, yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, you got to start somewhere. If you've got the noble.
That's true.
I don't know.
What am I saying? I haven't ever put a hamster underwater, so what do I know? I'm not going to armchair quarterback this guy.
I think you need to, if you're out there and you want to start putting hamsters underwater, you cannot build off this guy's work though. You got to start from ground zero where you hold a hamster in your hand and you put that thing underwater and you test how long it takes.
We need like an Operation Paperclip for hamsters or hamster technology. No shit. When I found that guy, a dickhead sent it to me on Twitter. He's the same guy who sent it to Medicare, I think. I spent like 2 hours on Wolfram Alpha trying to figure out the air pressure of like the cheapest way to sink a hamster civilization, the biggest cage possible. It was a lot of fun.
It's like, how long can this hamster live before I have to start scrubbing CO2 out of this?
Yeah. The algae is a problem.
Oh my gosh. Chris Banks says something like 60% of Congress time is fundraising. It's their actual job. Yeah, that's the House. And I mean, oh man, we've got to get term limits on these guys. We should have a soft term limit, I think. I've just come up with this where it's 2 terms in the House is your soft term, and you can do a 3rd term, but at the end you get executed. Can we get behind that?
Maybe it's like the Hunger Games. Every term they pick one and put them on an ice floe. And then of course the longer you're in, the higher the chance it'll be you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it should be. Like if you're willing to wield power this long, you should be willing to die for it.
Yeah.
Why don't we raise the stakes? That's actually an interesting sort of, at least to me, topic about modern protests and all of this hashtag activism. The only thing Maddox ever got right was the slacktivism thing. But we've eliminated risk from disobedience and from protest. And we've eliminated, therefore, all of the impact of it. Like Martin Luther King going to jail mattered because he had to go to jail. Black people getting hosed down in the streets of Birmingham mattered because police were enacting violence against other people. And when people saw that, they're like, wait a minute, maybe I'm not for this. And the same thing in India. People cared because people were getting hit by these cops just because of how they were born or how many names they had or whatever. It always matters what the sacrifice is. But these kids today don't even want to get pepper sprayed.
I mean, I'll say that I think in some ways expressing a controversial opinion online will cost you a tremendous amount that is not necessarily going to jail. Like you will, I mean, I'm a pariah in my career, in my field that took a lot of time to build up. And it's just for like, I hear what you're saying and I agree with you, but I think the nature of protest and the nature of consequences changed such that where going to jail is almost a positive because it makes you more like Martin Luther King or any of these protesters that actually had to risk violence. Like if there's no risk of violence, it's I don't know. That I think I explained it already.
Yeah, but like your if you were advocating for trans furry rights to rape animals, you wouldn't have been thrown off of Twitter or Facebook. True. Like there would be no risk for advocating for this position. Like you were thrown off for jokes.
Yeah.
And that's a different thing. Like you're not, I mean, I guess in one hand you're dying for the cause of free speech, but like it's not like you were running with that mantle. You were just telling jokes and you get tossed. But the people out there who are fighting for change, like in a college or whatever, it's always for a left-leaning change, and they're never getting thrown off of anything. That's what pisses me off.
I think guys like Damore are probably like he definitely got punished for some kind of actual activism. I think. Yeah. I mean, I think you could make the argument.
Yeah, I want to talk to that guy. Because he's an interesting fellow. And I think he got the rawest deal ever because he basically said what everybody knows intuitively. Like, hey, if you want to hire more women, maybe make a job that appeals to women. Like, just do that. Then
it's not even controversial. Lego does it. It's their marketing platform. They make pink Legos.
He's got like the lukewarmest take on gender relations, and they're like, "What? How dare you? How dare you suggest that different people will gravitate towards different things based on their upbringing and maybe a few genetic things? Like it's like you don't even have to ascribe to any of his like inherent arguments. You could just make the entire argument culturally that women for the past however many years have been taught to be this way and that they will be that way. And so until that changes, we should just go ahead and do this so we hire more women. Like it's the least controversial argument I can imagine turns into like the biggest question.
Well, he's also in a place where just the nature of being a woman is not certain. Like he said that to a crowd of people where whatever their gender is not not whether or not they have a penis. Like,
yeah, did you see the person he talked about in the lawsuit? There's a person giving a presentation at Google who identifies as an ornate building.
I didn't see that. No.
Yeah, there was a presentation given. There were two speakers. One, this is not a joke. It's not a Twitter joke. They identify as a wingless golden dragon, and the other identifies as an ornate building. Like this is where we are. This is what we're dealing with.
Too much money. You got too much. These people have too much money.
In my brief research for the Google employees who are named, like in Damore's lawsuit, because he puts all their tweets and stuff up in the complaint. And if you go look at any of these people's Twitter's account, you'll see none of them actually work. They're just on Twitter all day. And Google's paying them like $185,000 a year to just sit on Twitter and talk about trans building rights or whatever. It's like, well, I'm a 4-story flat in San Francisco. That's how I identify because I like a bunch of men inside of me or whatever it is. I don't know. I might be getting too sauced for this. But it's ridiculous. Oh, we got.
That's why I like the underwater hamsters so much because I just want to be one, where they don't have to deal with trans buildings running NSA spying conglomerates. You can just be an underwater hamster, man. That's the dream.
Oh, what are you talking about? Google isn't an NSA spying organization.
No, of course not.
They don't just collect all of your data, even when your location is turned off. It doesn't turn off your antenna, and they still collect it, which is, by the way, that's how they put the red line on your map. is that all the people driving through that area with a Google phone on.
Right.
That's how they know. And you can turn off your location data, but they'll pretend that they're just not identifying yours. It doesn't actually turn off your antenna. They still know.
Yeah.
And they're still paid for it. Oh, Maxwell Kimball, Maxwell Silver, sorry. He says this super chat is funded by the IRA, #jerkingoff3. So apparently he's got another jerking off episode out.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Maxwell is great. I
love that guy, and I love the hate that he gets even more.
It's the funniest
even
thing.
Funnier.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody tells me, I'll be telling them something he's doing, and they'll go, "That guy isn't even funny." Like, I mean, no one has ever said that and been right. Like, you have to realize.
Yeah. Everybody who says
I am a professional comedian, I will tell you what I'll let you know if he's not funny. Secondly, look at the laughing that I'm doing right here.
Anytime someone tells me Kimball is not funny, I have a visceral reaction to fight them and be like, no, you're not funny. You're stupid.
It makes me feel like he is being funny right there in the moment without even being there when I hear it. It's like, wow, that's the punchline Kimball wanted you to tell right at this moment.
Yeah, he just won just now. Because
Yep. And he doesn't even, he's smiling somewhere. Whatever he's doing, he's smiling because he knew that this is happening somehow.
It's like, it's like when a kid touches your thermostat and you know automatically. It's like, wait, I felt the 1 degree shift in temperature. That's Maxwell. He could be over in Israel right now and he'd know that someone's like, Maxwell isn't funny. Yes, he is. Yes, he is, you idiot. You're just stupid. You didn't get it. So Tillip, he's the guy, by the way, Tillip is the guy who does my thumbnails, my thumbnail art. He says, Dick, how much does making your thumbnails pay?
Oh, like everything else on my show, not much.
That's the heart of capitalism, right?
Yeah. It's the Dick show, not the thumbnail show.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm joking. The thumbnails are incredible for the show and the music. I really can't believe, and it's humbling that so many talented people will draw and produce content for the show. I've been listening to the Hard Men Working Hard all day, and every time I listen to it, I'm like, I cannot fucking believe I don't know what sort of deal I made with the devil to get these guys on the show and to work to put in so much effort and creativity for these amazing songs. But God, it's amazing. It's just
you get a ludicrous amount of specifically music submitted, which is nuts, and it's all good. Like, I haven't heard a bad song.
No. And then they have Call the Deep. Andy Lee was doing the thumbnails for their songs, and they're incredible. Like, it's this very unique combination of all these different artists coming together for this content. That's it's incredible.
Yeah. Well,
I wish I could do more for it. Like, I wish I could, cram their stuff through the whatever the NPC channels are. But
isn't it? That's one thing that's been consistently amazing to me, is like how much guys like you or me or whoever have to work to get our message out. And then I don't know if you've seen this show. There's this guy, Legal Eagle. He has a YouTube channel with like 100 or close to 200,000 subscribers. And I finally watched Legal Eagle for the first time the other day. And 1 minute in, I'm like, this is an ad. This is an ad.
Yeah.
And I look it up, and the guy runs a law school prep course business. That's what it is. And I'm watching this thing. I'm like, this is the most overproduced nonsense ever. Oh, and of course he did a video on the Discord terms of service change and BetterHelp combined, right? And what is his stunning hot take legal conclusion? The Discord terms of service change is fine. Arbitration will be great for you. Don't worry about it. And then BetterHelp, they're not actually providing therapy. They're just a platform, and I'm pretty sure that Philip DeFranco vetted them, and he's okay. That was his. This is the guy, and that guy gets like 600,000 views on his videos, and
People
it's
like ads.
yeah, it's just all of his videos are just an ad, an undisclosed ad, might I point out, and I'm pretty sure his entire channel is a violation of the YouTube terms of service, because Legal Eagle is the name of the company that is doing the law school prep, but it's never disclosed in his videos. It's not disclosed at all that it's literally sponsored content by Legal Eagle as a company selling you law school prep materials. How to get a 4.0 at law school. God, just kill me. Just
Who
kill
watches
me.
it?
I don't. Moms, soccer moms, right? Like the YouTube.
No,
NPCs.
moms don't. I don't think women watch YouTube.
I don't
like. I'm joking, but I think that's one of their big stats is that women are not watching YouTube.
Well, I have 5% female viewership. How dare you, sir?
That might be all of YouTube's. I mean, I think that's normal. Like that's the average across YouTube.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. But when I watch his videos, all I think is this is exactly what a normie thinks a lawyer YouTube should look like. Like it's exactly, he's sitting in front of a bunch of law books. He's wearing a suit with tie clips. Of course he markets the suits and tie clips in his stuff. It's all an ad. The whole thing is an ad. But it's like the guy.
Why don't you do an ad? Can you do the Nick Rekieta correspondence law degree course?
Yeah, I'll do like the
Kimball
mesothelioma.
To edit one. Yeah, mesothelioma. Walking out in front of,
if you or a loved one has developed mesothelioma after working with asbestos, you may be entitled by a hand job from Stormy Daniels by executive order of President Trump. Contact us to find out how. Like I can't take it. But I when I go through YouTube and I see like the content I watch is all guys with like, for the most part, like 25,000 subscribers or less. And it's not like, cause I'm like too cool for it. It's just like, oh, it's just a guy playing Total War 2. Like I can watch that all day, even though it's completely dry, but I could sit there and I don't even barely play it, but I could watch it. Or it's just a guy explaining to me deep lore on some sci-fi property. And that's all I
get stuck in the same thing too. I went through like a speed run phase where I was watching this very very thorough deconstruction, whatever history, whatever you want to call it, of like every single game's speed run history, and they were 40 minutes long or something like that. I think I wasted a whole week doing that. That, and then recently I've been looking at this Ants Canada channel, which is like this weird ant farm channel.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how any of this stuff works, because the stuff that I want to watch looks nothing like what I'll ever see on a TV station ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Like that's why I got rid of TV and all I watch is YouTube. Because all I want to see is, I watch that Man at Arms show. They have a lot of subscribers, so they don't count. But I watched that thing where they like made Sigmar's hammer from Warhammer. And then a bunch of fat guys are sitting there trying to lift like this 40-pound sledgehammer and smash watermelons and stuff with it. Like, I love this. You just wouldn't see this on TV for the most part. Like, you're just not going to find this. And I never want to see TV again. It's the worst content I can imagine. And I think that's why reality TV has taken a hold, is because it's kind of unpredictable, even though it's pretty much just manufactured now. But that's why sports have such longevity. You never know what the sport is going to do, right? Like there's always the wild card aspect, and it can't ever be overproduced because it's still just a bunch of guys hitting each other in some way.
Yeah, I think reality also gives you this impression deep down that you're closer to being famous somehow too. Like they call it reality, and it's like, oh wow, these people they're not even famous for anything. I could do this. This is just like my friends. I agree with you. There's nothing on TV I want to watch besides, the only reason I have Hulu for Seinfeld and Mad Men reruns on Netflix, and that's about it. That's all I can watch anymore. Otherwise, it's all weird ant farm shit and guys
Drowning
going
hamsters.
guys taking apart medical equipment and it's like, oh, look at this, or like superheated. I watched a series of superheated balls of metal dropped on
Yes.
honey and stuff today.
Yeah, that's a great show and you're like, oh, what's this 1,000-degree ball of steel gonna do in honey? It's like, well, not
Yeah.
much really.
Yeah,
The hydraulic
well, now I
press
know.
channel. Have you seen the hydraulic presses?
Yes, I
Yeah.
love that one. Like, oh well, okay, that was fun. Back to tentacle porn.
Yeah. All right, man. It's 2:30 in the
Late.
morning here. Thanks so much for joining me. I think we should wrap up the stream. But
My pleasure. I love your streams. I got all my alerts turned on to let me know when you're streaming. Every device in the house lights up. Bling.
well, thanks, buddy. I cannot express enough like how thankful I am for your early support and the fact that you even just had a show that allowed me to have a show. Like, because I've wanted to do stupid entertainment for my entire life. And suddenly, when I'm 35 years old, sitting in my underwear on the couch, you get sued for $20 million. And now I have a reason to talk to people every night.
I remember your first. Well, I remember. I remember your first streams, and seeing them now is like seeing like the rock star Nick Rekieta with the header and the slick. You look famous now. You get guys on here screaming at each other.
Oh man,
it's really great to see. Like it was like almost a year ago exactly when the lawsuit came out, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like a couple days from now. A couple days from now will be 1 year in.
Nothing makes me happier than to see your Patreon dwarf Maddox and your incredible success, and also seeing you stir so much shit with these weird, like the wrong side of the comic skate people who all seem so outclassed when they go up against you. It's so funny.
Dude, I had to tell some of my friends, I had to explain to them, I'm like, have you ever heard of the Lockerbie bombing? And they're like, yeah, the plane that blew up over Scotland. I'm like, the lawyer who negotiated the deal with Libya to compensate the families, I shitposted that guy so hard that he got pissed off and called me out on Twitter. Like, that's my life now, is that he said I shouldn't even have a law license and emailed me. And my response to him is like, what are you doing, you dummy?
Oh, man. This show, nothing, it's hard to explain. I meet guy like you're just a guy I've never met before doing an internet video on a $400 million lawsuit involving me. And then the next thing I know, you're at a show and your lovely wife and baby are there and we're talking about nothing and another side of the country or the planet. It's the entire thing is surreal. I love it. And I very, very deeply appreciate everything you've done.
Well, thanks, man. And back at you. But let's wrap this up, guys. If you don't if you're here from Comicsgate or whatever, and you don't listen to the Dick Show, you're missing out. Go listen to the Dick Show. Like, subscribe, favorite, whatever. Check out his Patreon. Don't be intimidated by the number. He can always use more.
Always a little more.
Yeah, always a little more. That's the capitalist motto. No, but honestly, fantastic show. He's been.
It's not about me. It's about you. You need the bonus episodes. Me, that's what the money's for.
And you really are missing something if you're not watching the live show. Like I'm not even kidding. The live show, because you guys do edit out quite a bit, not in any bad way. You have to, because the live show is like 3 hours. And then you produce like a 1 to 2 hour show, depending on kind of the content. But there's little nuggets in the live show that you just miss. And if like you don't want to miss a random stalker Australian who immediately falls in love with any woman who even says hi over Discord. And then when they say, maybe you should kill yourself, the guy's like, well, that's not very nice. And they're like, no, why would I stop you? And he's like, you should stop me. You owe it to stop me. Please send nudes. Like, you can't find these people anywhere else.
That guy is incredible. He's been such a train wreck. He sent me an email that he was going to Greenland.
That guy's insane. And I don't advocate suicide, but some people maybe you shouldn't dissuade. Oh, and by the way, I just have to say one final thing.
Yeah.
Your joke about the news babe for Halloween week was not too far.
Thank you. If I ever say that I think something is too far, it's a lie. I'm just saying that so people won't get mad at me.
I almost pulled over laughing with my children in the car and neon headphones. I almost pulled over because I was like, come on.
I thought about that the night before. I emailed it to myself just so I wouldn't get too drunk and forget. I was laughing so hard at the Halloween party. I was like, I hold on, I got to email myself. This is the funniest thing I've ever thought of.
You know, a joke is good when you're like, if I get too drunk and forget this, it will literally cost me money.
Yeah, I'll be sad forever.
All right. Is there anything else you want to promote? Because definitely go watch the Dick Show, dick.show. Get signed up. But is there anything else you want to promote, buddy?
Just the musicians, the hard men working hard, Waterboy, and all the amazing artists for the show. Hee Silly.
And don't forget my song. My song, Cuck Yourself.
Cuck Yourself.
The Justin
Hee
Bieber
Silly,
remix.
Clay Burton, Cliff Campbell, Andy, Call of the Deep. I'm sure I'm forgetting Wormwood. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but they're all on the site and they're all incredible.
Yeah, go check out the Dick Show album, the Asterios Santa Cuck album, all of that stuff. You can find it all on dick.show. Go spend hours of time. Oh, and read the descriptions of the show. Because if you don't read the descriptions of the show, you're missing content. That's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Those...
Because I feel like not enough people read the description of my show, so I'm subtly plugging that as well.
Oh, good, yes.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. You guys have a good night. I'm going to blank
Nick.
out the screen. Talk to you later, buddy. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Yep.